I mean, I've done a few open houses.
The one on Tuesday, I visited.
Oh, I mean, the only people that visited that house were other agents, even though they had put it on Zillow, but no one.
But I wanted to look and see.
Yeah, I'll, when I send you.
I think you can have a house where there's traffic that people would be going home.
Do you have a super key?
Like when you put on one of the signs, you can be home now. That's a good.
Oh, thank you.
Do you know how
Stop the spillway traffic.
stuff?
Oh, perfect, perfect.
I think there's okay.
Everybody, before we start our presentation, thank you, RIA, for being here. We are in the middle of a big push for everyone to download Kelly. Y'all should have gotten a text message last night. It was from me. I'm sorry, it looked like spam. We were using a group texting app. So basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase usage in the southeast region. We are probably right now lagging behind the rest of the country in usage simply because everybody picked up Kelly. They tried it 1 or 2 times and they went, well, she's stupid. Didn't talk to her anymore. But Kelly's like a 3-year-old. You ask a 3-year-old a question, the 3-year-old might not know the answer, but you're not going to take the 3-year-old and lock him in the closet because it's stupid, right? We're all Kelly's teachers at this point. I mean, you may not be getting the answers that you hope for or expect, but what we're asking everybody to do is make sure that you've downloaded the app. And then, when you go to the app, you can log in using your my KW login information. And if you can't think of a question to ask, hit the little button at the very top. It'll give you like a whole series of questions that you can ask. You can ask about your production. You can ask about areas. You can ask about Keller Williams culture. You can ask, definitions of words. You can ask terms. Kind of just give yourself like 3, 4, 5 questions just to ask, or just to kind of get going on it. We have a goal that's been kind of set by International that we need to get ourselves out of the cellar on usage. So this is why we're asking everybody to get this done like today, because we have to report a much higher percentage by 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, I received an email that has a tutorial video in it on how to use Cal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you send it to me, forward it to me, and I'll share it if other people.
And we are having a contest, by the way. But everybody who is in Kelly, we get like 15-minute updates from International as far as who's using it, how much they're using everything. So everybody that's in it, they're going to be entered in the contest. We haven't gotten an okay on what the prize is, but the ones they were talking about sounded pretty darn good. So they're serious about this. So please, guys.
Okay, raise your hand if you have not downloaded the app. Okay, Beth Hasey. If anybody, before you leave today, feel free to stop by Diane or my desk or mine and help you get started if you haven't already gotten started.
How many haven't?
Only Beth Hasey.
Oh, okay.
But how good is that? Yay!
Early adopters right here.
Hard to keep hot dogs matrix.
Oh, you'll be a fast learner. Fast learner.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Perfect.
And we have one person coming in. She just got out of an appointment with a client, and she'll be. But let her rip.
We're good. Okay. All right, guys. Hi. Nice to meet you. Nice to see some of your new faces. I'm Tricia. You'll see me in the office quite often. I'm the marketing person for Residential Inspector of America. And if you need any support at all, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll try to give you all my card if you'd like during this time. Going to introduce Pete. First of all, I gave you guys 2 booklets. It's going to be part of the class a little bit. He'll reference a couple things with the booklets. And when he's talking about maybe stucco or polybutylene or something, you can reference this blue guide and read a little synopsis there. There's a little paragraph on the subject or whatever. And if you formulate any questions as a result of that or whatever, please feel free to ask him either during the class or after. So that's a little guide for you there. And then he's going to reference the age of the appliances and stuff in this booklet as well while we're here. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the class. Pete has been an inspector with Residential of America. We've been in business over 30 years. We've done 65,000 inspections, well known in the area, and 24 inspectors we have on board currently. We've had massive growth, although they've always been very successful as a company. We're going to be hiring our third marketing person, which is phenomenal to me as well. We're in a ton of Keller Williams offices. I know the Keller Williams affirmations footprint. We support Bold. We're giving two $400 reimbursements on the Bold that is coming up to agents. So we're very supportive of you guys. But Pete has been almost with inspections for over 20 years. You're going to get a wealth of knowledge from him and pick his brains or whatever you do. So this is going to be life-transforming class for you. Hope
Just
you
don't
enjoy
pick any more hair.
Yeah, no more hair because there's only like 3 left now. All right, we're going to be bringing in lunch too around 12:30ish or so. So we'll have a little something to eat. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you.
All right, thank you, Trish. Well, first of all, if you have any questions during the process, throw up a hand and we'll go wherever that leads us. I want to know what your experiences are so we can talk about, what we might expect, maybe what we're looking at sometimes and our view of what's going on and why we might call something out. But this is managing client expectations, whether that be for the seller or for the buyer. If you do listings, then that client for your listing may have an expectation of what you're supposed to do, but they are a big part of getting ready for selling that home. So we need to keep those things in mind when you do those listings to prepare for the inspection, because that is a crucial part. When I started this 25 years ago, some of the rural areas say, well, we don't do inspections. And I think they've learned over the years that, wait a minute, you better do an inspection. But it's something that takes place in virtually every transaction now. If somebody doesn't, I even have relatives that might be buying a home from their parents. They still get it inspected. They grew up there, but they get it inspected. So let me see if I can get this thing to respond. Okay. Residential Inspectors of America, been in business since 1989. Over 60,000. Trish says 65. Home inspectors were 22. So I can't keep up with my program on how many we have. We grow, things are really busy. I hope y'all are. I hear homes going on the market and selling in 2 days. It took longer to do the listing than it probably did to find a buyer. But we're fully insured. We offer free warranties on our home inspections, mechanical items, plumbing, electrical, mold, roof, underground sewer lines that we can't even see. We're going to give a warranty on it. 5-year roof warranty inspections. I am a retired firefighter, EMT, over 20 years as an ASHI inspector, certified pool inspector, and a certified stucco inspector. Stucco is something that, eventually, if you hadn't dealt with it, you're going to deal with one. So we'll get into that a little deeper later. We're going to discuss many home inspection topics, scenarios. What if something is missed in an inspection? Common inspection findings, what do we do about them? Setting client expectations for the home inspection. Your buyer, they find that house, and a lot of times they're moving really quick right now, because if you don't put a contract on it, it's gone, right? So a lot of times they're walking through a home and they see everything great. Maybe they're looking at a house that's a flip. A lot of these flips get a little lipstick on them, but when we start getting a little deeper in them, we find, wait a minute, they didn't do anything else to the house but put granite tops in it, So those expectations, to let them know, wait a minute, we may find some issues here. Managing liabilities, protecting your client after the home inspection and preparing the home for inspection. The listing, preparing it for inspection. You're doing a listing. I know you're busy, but if you can walk through that home with your person, you know, the seller, and make sure that the things that we're going to need to see, we have access to. Because I go in some homes and I think maybe they're hoarders because I can't get to things. You know, and if I can't get to the water heater, I can't get to the attic, I can't get to the electrical panel, I'm going to have a whole lot of, I can't see it. I'm going to advise that somebody come back and look at it, whether it's us for a return visit, but we don't know. You get an older home, you know, even 30 years old is an older home now. So, and I live in a 30-year-old home that I bought new. And I know, okay, these are certain things that you change, these certain things you upgrade, or these certain things are going to fail. How many air conditioners have I put in since I've been there, right? So, let's start with some scenarios. Can y'all see this okay? We need to dim the lights at all?
That would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that's got to be better.
Yes.
Okay. Home inspectors pay special attention to mechanical components. Those are things that get used all the time. So those are where problems can exist. So you probably notice us looking under things and in things, and you know, those sink areas. We're looking for signs of that there's a leak or there's been a leak. What might be an issue because we look, not because we're looking at it, but when we look at these things, we're like, okay. Really common now, people put the granite tops in, and the sink is made into the granite top. So the guys that are installing those things, the only way they know to hook up a drain is through a little flexible pipe. If you got granite tops, look under your top, see if it has this little accordion-looking flex pipe. We see that very commonly, and it's a common place to cause clogs in your drain. So we make those things aware to people that this may be a common area to back up. But why are we looking under that sink? If we're looking for any kind of leak, those things can cause mold. They get left alone. And what's a big concern in our environment now? Mold. Okay, do home inspectors move items inside the cabinets?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe a little, but we're not there to unpack those spaces because we don't know what kind of stuff might have to get moved. Now this is a basement, you know, do I move this?
No.
No. So I've got to look at this very closely to try to determine, is there anything that I can say is a problem in this space? Now, you can't see it very good anyway, but these are floor trusses. Okay? So you think I'm looking at probably the walls, but I'm looking at that ceiling area. This is a basement. This truss system has actually been cut here, 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 and here so that they could put floor joists through the truss that holds up a chimney chase on the outside. So they have dismantled and made those floor trusses weak because of their construction method. Okay? That's why we want to see things. We get in a finished basement, and if that's finished out, I don't know it. It's completely hidden from all of us. Now, I might start to see an issue with settlement, deflection someplace, upper areas. I start seeing these weird cracks. But if I don't, then I don't know there's a construction flaw. But we're looking under sinks. So how much of this stuff do I move? You know, how much stuff is being hid? So there's a lot of tricks people play. Sellers, little old ladies, love to hide their leaky traps. Okay? So I go in and I see a pair of rubber gloves laying over the drain under the sink. Yeah, that one's got to be leaky, right? So I move it. Yeah, there's all kind of crud and crusties on it. You know, she just didn't want me to see that. But, you know, the tricks we learn over time. I've been doing this for 25 years now. So, but I'm not going to just unpack all that stuff. Because, you know, there are situations where people don't want you rummaging around under their stuff. I had a lady years ago, she couldn't stand it that I had to look under all those bathroom sinks. What are you hiding? So, what you need to know, attend an inspection if you see an obstruction. This is sellers and buyers both. Ask the seller for permission to move it, hopefully before we get there so that we don't have to try to move it. Things that can be missed. You know, I had a home a couple of years ago. A lady was a listing agent. She was the agent. She had it listed in an older home, and a lot of these older homes, certain things that we need to look at are in places that you won't find them in a new home. But had an electrical panel. It was covered up by a 6-foot mirror, framed 6-foot mirror. I'm there by myself. I'm not daring to even try to take that down, right? But I can see it. You know, I've looked all over the house. Finally, I'm like, all right, here's my incoming line, and okay, I think it's right in here. So I go and I look, you know, I peek behind. Yep, sure it is. So I have to tell the customer, because the buyer's not there. I have to write it up that I'm unable to access it. And it's a 50-year-old home. There's bound to be something wrong. It's just by the nature of its age. So now I got to say, well, just have an electrician evaluate it when you can make access. Now, have they gotten their money's worth from me? Not really. You know, I feel guilty that I can't tell them more, but I can't move that mirror. Okay, things that can be missed inside a full cabinet: small leaks, mold, hidden from view. So, how many of you do listings? Do you stage those listings? Yeah, all the nice things in them. But you try to clean things out, don't you? I mean, I love to go in one that's staged because I'm looking and say, well, that's some neat decorating ideas, you know. I'll go tell my wife about it or something. But I like it because the areas under the sinks, everything, I could get to them nice. Okay, so this is a recent place, and if you're listing this home, it was vacant. It sits up on top of a little mountain in Cartersville, and it's just plain out rough. I look at some places, I'm like, how are you going to sell it? Nobody got prepared to sell it. And who's looking to buy it? Because there was no place to stop writing this up. Okay, having all stored items out of the way is usually not practical. There's you just can't get it all out of the way. People that are moving love to store things in their garages, you know. So had one of our agents last week. He took a picture of it and sent it to all of us, you know, just kind of like, what do I inspect? So having those things out of the way is important. But we want to make sure we refer an inspector that is going to offer a mechanical warranty for their inspection. That would cover plumbing leaks. You know, make sure you get a home warranty on the property that would cover those leaks. Make sure that you refer an inspector that offers a mold warranty. You know, even if I can't see in those spaces, then I want to protect the buyer as best I can for what I can't see. So you got a mold warranty that would cover remediation of visible molds that are not present. You know, you get into a home where it does have a lot of storage. There's certain areas where there's a certain amount of moisture sometimes that can just occur because of where it is. You know, it could be under a bathroom sink. It can be behind a refrigerator. A lot of these refrigerators are kind of built into the cabinet spaces now, enclosed around them. Well, there's a lot of humidity back in behind that. Doesn't get cleaned out, doesn't get airflow. Mold can occur behind those refrigerators. Now, do we move a refrigerator? No. Okay, the little old lady that didn't want me looking under her sinks, I don't know if she's hiding something her kids had. under there, but maybe that's why she didn't want me there. Okay, getting ready for that inspection. You've sold a home, or maybe you listed it, and maybe they had a previous roof leak. So they went on for quite a while, and they put a tarp up in the attic to catch the drips. Now, you got a brand new roof because they had a problem and they got a brand new roof. We got to move this tarp because I'm going to write it up. There could be an ongoing situation here. So, true or false, can a home inspector predict a roof leak? Can you? No, we can't. So, this is a relatively new roof. Architectural, 4-tab, good shingles. Other than a little debris caught here at the gutter. Anything obvious that I would see? Not particularly. But it leaks. This is along the soffit of that same space. Now, could I have predicted that? Not really, but I did catch it. So, we go into a home that I got stains all over the ceiling. Now, I don't know if somebody was trying to walk upside down on it, or if that was from a previous leak. Maybe it was the same one that's got the brand new roof, left the tarp in the attic, and they just didn't bother to clean up anything where there had been a leak. So if you got a listing and you see this kind of stuff, it's just a great idea to go ahead and do whatever you got to do to cover this up. And we might look at it and say, well, it looks like it's been recently patched, but we're going to test it. It's not wet. We're going to say that's maybe a previous issue, but just monitor it, you know? So here's the next thing that happens, though. If you can you see okay? I don't want to block you. Oh, so if you've had an inspection and we looked at that roof, didn't see any issues, it's maybe less than 5 years old, but your buyer moves in and they got a roof leak. So who are they going to call? Anybody had that experience? They're going to call you. And then you're going to tell them, call the home inspector. And, you know, do we tell them, welcome to home ownership? So you want to refer a home inspector that has a roof leak warranty that is free with the inspection. The client will get coverage for their repair, and you don't have to try to pay for it out of your pocket. Now, there's some companies out there that offer a guarantee with their inspection. Anybody ever heard of that? Now, if I guarantee you, okay, let's see. Any Alabama fans?
No.
Oh my God. Georgia fans?
Of course.
There's no Auburn fans, right?
Yes.
Oh no. So,
No,
if,
I'm really Georgia. My daughter went.
oh, okay. Well, my youngest son graduated with his master's from that university over in Alabama. Okay, so by nature, all my money went over there. I've got a tag on my truck that says Bama. So, anyway, if I guarantee you Alabama is going to win this year, can you hold me to it? No, I wouldn't dare do it. You know, Georgia's looking good. We trained their coach. So, it could be a possibility. But if I give you a warranty and I promise you that they're going to win, that warranty is going to cover our bet. Guarantee is just, hey, you know, that was just for fun, right? Okay. It comes out of my pocket. All right. So what if the client, if you want the client to be happy, what do? You write them a check? No. Always ask the seller to repair current roof leaks, investigate any problems. That's why sometimes we're going to advise you, we need to further evaluate. You know, we need to see, is there a leak? If we see a stain that's not wet, but we've got a 15-year-old roof, then we need to evaluate that situation and see, do we have an issue or was that from a previous problem? So you always want to use a home inspector with a warranty and a 5-year roof protection. always ask for a home warranty that includes that roof protection.
I have
So,
a question.
yeah.
You said if the roof is 15 years old, you might want to call in a roofing specialist. Do you have like a certain time that you would recommend a roofing specialist to come in? Like
That's
you said,
a great
15 years?
question, because in our reports, we may reference the age of what we think that roof might be. We can't always be exactly right, but good experience tells us that one looks less than 5, it's brand new, or maybe getting 10, 12, and then we get into that 15 to 20 range, and in a little bit you can look through your books and you kind of get an idea of how long roof shingles should last. But roofing manufacturers recommend you have your roof inspected every year. Okay? So you put it on last year, I'm gonna reference that it's recommended that you have your roof inspected every year, because we get hail damage, okay? We storm damage. I went and looked at one a while back that had the day before I looked at it, we had a pretty good windstorm, and a limb this big around stabs through the roof. Unfortunate for the seller, right? But maybe that's an insurance deal. But those kinds of things happen. So checking it out. The vent stacks that go through a roof, most of them have a rubber boot that seals that vent stack. Plastic is rubber. They have a life expectancy of about 5 years. So let's say you've put a shingle on your house that might be a 30-year style shingle, but you got 5-year boots. So it's not about the shingle anymore. It's about other components. So again, you have somebody take a look, see what kind of conditions they're in. Hey, if there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong. Roofers, a lot of times, you think they can come give you a free evaluation because they're trying to sell a roof.
That's what they're doing. They're trying to sell
Exactly. So you got to take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
But do we have any current issues? And a lot of times there'll be little issues. New homes. You've got crews out there. You got a real steep roof. Every home nowadays got these big roof systems. You can't stand on them. So they use a toe board. Nail it across the shingles so they can go up to the next level. What do they do about those nails? They've just put holes in your new roof. There's a proper method of sealing those toe board holes. And if it's a brand new home, it's actually code that they do it. Do we always get everything that's code fixed correctly? A lot of times no. Who's going to see those holes? They'll put a little black tar or whatever to match those holes. They're supposed to go under it with a piece of flashing or a piece of roofing and seal it. They ain't got time for that. Hey, they're gone to the next job. If it leaks next week, you can't find them. Okay. So, other things you might run into. We're going to check faucets, toilets throughout the home. Normal part of home inspection, but there are limitations. Now, if I see water that color, after I've thrown up, I'm probably going to tell you that your water heater is probably failing, okay? Because that's rust. Now, if you're on a well, might be a whole other problem, but generally, this kind of color of water is coming from a rusted out water heater. So this situation may lead us to a whole other thing. We're going to look at that age of that water heater and see what kind of thing is going on here. We're there for a limited amount of time, but we want to try to link things together if we can. So, does a home inspection include an inspection of the sewer lines between the home and the street? I can't see them. Now, if it's visible in the house, I'm going to, of course, inspect that part. But where it leaves the house, goes out to a sewer system or out to a septic system, I can't see it. So I'm going to run all the water I can, see if there's any drainage issues. I'm going to try to see what pipes I can inside, but I can't see once they've left the building. So, now this is a brand new home. They hadn't finished it yet. but it's going to be on a septic tank. This is a sewage tank because they got to pump it uphill. They don't have a drain field that's close to the house. They got to send it somewhere else. Now what you don't see, and I wish I could put it in the picture, there is an alarm on the side of the house to tell us if this fails. So I always like to make the buyer aware. If you hear that thing going off or the little red lights on, don't flush the toilet anymore because you got a problem. Okay? The pump inside that tank only lasts about 6 or 7 years. So it will have to be serviced and it will fail. So if you don't know that, if you've got a lift station, that's part of general maintenance you accept when you buy that home. Now, main sewer lines that I can see, can't see the underground lines, of course. Failure in sewer lines can be expensive. You know, if we got this kind of pipe, anybody familiar with a cast iron drain line? Ever heard that before? Okay. Older homes, 50 plus years, it was real common to use cast iron pipe. Now that pipe rusts on both sides, inside and out. Okay? So on the inside it rusts and it gets clogged. It closes itself off. That's a 4-inch pipe about like this. After 50 years it's about that big. So we've got a clog problem, slow water flow out of the home along with whatever rusting might be taking place through the pipe or from the outside of the pipe. Because a lot of times we'll have these pipes laying on a crawl space. So they're a damp crawl space. Now they're starting to rust from the outside in. So fortunate for you, I don't have pictures of what it looks like. But this situation is not a leak. It looks wet, doesn't it? Around that joint? So this is where experience and old timers like me know that how this is put together. Now, there may very well be an issue because it's cast iron pipe, and by nature, it goes in our report automatically when we check off that it's cast iron pipe, because we're going to tell you that ultimately, at this age, you could have failures. You could have pieces of this that you're going to have to replace. But this problem is not a leak. This is where when they put it together, they use you got the bell housing and then you got another pipe that goes into it. So when they put that together back in the days, they didn't weld it together. They didn't have a mechanical fastener to put it together. They used a rope material called yokum that's soaked in grease. They stuff it in that bell and they put a little solder around it. So what happened here is they got too much grease on that connection. So that's all that is. Now, these young bucks don't know that because they ain't been around long enough, okay? They can probably just say it's leaking. Home inspectors cannot see the underground lines, and typically due to not putting a full load, a plumbing load on the home, can't always detect these things. So we got, let's say we had a home that was 50, 60 years old. You got an older couple that's moved on, you know, and maybe they're in assisted living now and the family's selling the house. It was just 2. And you got a family moving in that's got 5 or 6. So that pipe that, like I said, is only this big around now, has got to handle the sewage for 6 people. It might not do it. So those are kinds of things that when you get that new load on the home, you detect something's going on. That's why in our report, if it's cast iron pipe, we're just going to give you a general statement that it's cast iron pipe. Here's the ultimate issues with that. So you want to refer a home inspector that has a warranty on the underground sewer lines. This will provide coverage in the event of a failure. Refer a home warranty that includes that coverage for underground sewer and water lines. Familiar with galvanized lines? Yes.
With that, since it's rust inside that, is there any way to clear that by,
You can have Roto-Rooter come out and clean your pipes, but generally what happens is when they start rooting it out, it's so thin it just busts the walls of the pipe. And that's why I go into some homes and I'll see this nice new PVC section, where they busted it leaked, or whatever. So now you got old, piece of new, and old. You rarely get the piece from the house out changed. Okay, you can get a plumber to do a sewer scope. If there's a question of drainage, you got those old lines. If Keller Williams' office, if you have got a plumber that does sewer scopes, if you don't, maybe get familiar with one you can call on, because they'll run their little camera through there, and then maybe that 4-inch pipe, no longer that 4 inches, they're going to tell you really easily if you've got a problem with it. Okay, what are clients concerned about when it comes to environmental issues? Mold, radon, things radon they can't see, mold, usually pretty obvious. So we see this kind of situation, we're going to say that's mold. I don't know what kind it is, Have you noticed how cars nowadays, they can look so similar? You see a Hyundai going down the road, looks like that Mercedes on the other side, right? So it's one of those, but it's mold. It's got wheels and it'll go. So what do you do about it? So we can do an environmental study, an air quality test. I can sample that particular mold with a swab so we can get an idea of exactly what kind it is. Because what kind is it everybody's afraid of? The black mold. Yep. So, do you see any black mold? Looks like it. So, this has been a long-term wet situation. Mold doesn't grow overnight. So, we'd hope that testing wouldn't be necessary, but some people will test a brand new place. They want to know what's going on. New homes get wet during construction. And if that is not dried out real well, it could become an issue. So we can take surface samples, we can take air quality samples, but this is going to help you determine if there's something there. If that was mold, we want to know it is, what kind it is, so that once it's remediated, you can retest. So the way you do this, visible mold surface test, yes, and then remediation, you got it all out. You want to make sure it's all out. You don't want Joe the neighbor to come help you get it out, because you want to be able to encapsulate this stuff and not spread it through the rest of the house. Now, so it's health issues. You go in a home and you got musty odors, air quality test to confirm if it's mold. Now, walk into a basement, you just get that smell. There's just that smell, isn't there? It's probably mold, okay? A house has been closed up a long time. Maybe you got one that's vacant. They haven't had the air conditioning on. This time of year, mold runs rampant if you don't keep an air conditioner on. You want to know what the source of that mold is. It's generally going to be an ongoing water issue. If you've got an old damp basement, leaky foundations, perfect. Crawl spaces a lot of times are going to have mold if they haven't been encapsulated and have good vapor barriers on the ground. We almost always see mold in a crawl space. Now, it's not in the house. It may not even be a concern for the buyer, but it's still something we want to take care of that water issue. We want to make sure there's good ventilation. It's expensive, is reasonable. Usually starts out about $175, and that would be for a swab. We're going to take a test, check those, send it to a lab. They're going to tell us what's going on, what it is, and if it's actually growing. Mold exists everywhere. It's in this room. We can't see it, hopefully. So, if we do see it, there's a problem. But when we take that test, we're going to determine, what's going on, what kind of mold it is. They'll actually tell us if it's growing or if it's just a spore from whatever previous issues. When we do an air quality test, we take a sample outside and inside so we can compare it, because it's natural out there. These rains we've had, yeah, there's going to be some moldy things out there. If you stand there too long, it'll get you. So we compare what's outside to inside. So this is a situation, and I just saw this again this week. This is a situation where somebody finished out a basement. They finished out a basement bath. You go into a new home, and a lot of times this basement area will be stubbed up for a bathroom. Oh, that's the big thing. You can put another bathroom down here. Well, make sure you get a professional to help you do it. Because in this case, and I got a slide, the next one I'm anxious to get to. But what happened? This one right here is a finished out bath, shower area, and they didn't do any kind of waterproofing. They put tile directly on the sheetrock. Okay? Well, tile and the grout lines are not waterproof. Water will go through them. It'll get in around all kind of places. So you've got to have a waterproof membrane, and most of the time they're going to have on the back side of that a cement board. Okay? So if you attach it directly to the sheetrock, you're going to have a problem. And this was going on a long time. They probably had the teenagers down there, right? So all that seepage through, we got mold, we got water damage on the framing below. So it made a mess. So this one I did this week. Okay? Same problem. Brand new shower. Brand new. It's a flip. Hey, let's put them in a bathroom, right? So you see this, right? This is all mold. It's over here. And this bathroom had not even really been used. It's a flip. They probably ran enough water to make sure it go out the drain, right? But it saturated the wall. That's the shower. Does it look like there's any problem? That's brand new. Man, your buyer's going on nuts. Man, look at that beautiful tile, right? You know what they got to do to fix that problem?
Take it out.
Take it out.
Wow. So how did you find it? If the tile was up, was it on the back
It was
side?
on the back side.
Okay.
You know, luckily, I was able to see the back side. Again, that's one of those situations where, what if I couldn't? I couldn't confirm whether they're looking at this side. Is there any kind of waterproof membrane? The water drains out. So what eventually would happen, if that was finished off on the other side, is that these tiles will start falling off. Okay? Because all that material back there is rotting and coming apart. Okay, how to deal with mold problem. To eliminate mold, the cause, moisture, high humidity, poor ventilation. Those things must be corrected. A lot of times in that basement bath that they've added, maybe they didn't even put a fan in there. A lot of basement baths don't have a window. So the requirements, code requirements for ventilation in the bathroom is a window or the fan. A lot of times basement area wouldn't have that, okay? If they don't put a fan that vents to the outside, mold's just going to occur on walls. So once the cause has been corrected, the growth will halt and it can be professionally removed. Some molds will release spores. All molds release spores. So one reason we don't want Joe next door to help you do this is because if you start just ripping it out, you aerate it. You get those mold spores in the air, they get up in our ventilation system. Air conditioners are taking moisture out of the air. So your return ducts, a lot of times, a lot of humidity in them. So you get humidity in a space with mold spores, now you're just throwing it all over the house. So if mold problem is suspected, you want to get it tested. This will give a professional lab report detailing the problem. This will give you the contact information that you need. And Trish, have you ordered?
I have. It will be about 1 o'clock for pizza.
1 o'clock. We'll take a break here in
They
just
are
a minute.
slammed today, but it is coming. It'll be around 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So if you guys can hold tight. Sorry about that, but we will have lots of food when it comes. It'll compensate for.
That's the only reason they're here.
Yeah.
No, and it's good information.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to know what you're dealing with with mold, and that's why, especially if you see it, to get it evaluated about what kind of mold it is. Because if it's the black mold, which is Stachybotrys, or there's a little bit of a white mold, which you saw in the previous one, that's called Aspergillus. They're both highly, it's bad. No, if you got asthma, any of them could be bad. So you don't want the seller's brother-in-law to be tearing it out. You want a professional to do these things, and then you want to test afterwards to see now, do we have any area, do an air quality test. Is there anything being detected that has raised that level? You're still going to get some mold spores in it, but how does it line up with what you just previously tested?
One quick question.
Yeah.
The mold remediation, when they come out to test it and everything, I've seen the mold remediation report. So, if they actually cure the mold, do they give you another report?
Well, that's why you would want to do an evaluation, another test, an air quality test afterwards.
Okay.
So you can compare it to the before and after and say, okay, we don't have more of a mold problem, we're reducing that. You're always going to get some spores
So
there.
can it pass inspection?
But that depends on what it is.
Oh,
You know, I think our versions of what passes can be different between two, 3 people.
Was it code back in the like 50s and 60s to have that waterproof barrier for tile?
The waterproof membrane?
Yeah.
It was a lot different aspect of what we used to do. The old tiles were set in concrete, and it can be 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. Floors, walls. If you look at an old shower area, the cap block will have a big rounded edge because it's got concrete behind it. Now, by nature, concrete's not waterproof either. Okay? So those areas, especially old tile floors, with the exception of the tile shower, the shower basin usually had either a lead or a galvanized pan. Now, the lead pans don't rust, but the galvanized ones are just like my galvanized pipe. They're gonna rust. So when we get up under the thing, we're going, whoo, it isn't coming through the floor soon, because that pan's gone and they got these regular drips now to the floors, and that's when you get a lot of renovation going on. But no, the old ones were not waterproof anything like what we do today. Now,
So an old house could easily have mold, you wouldn't know it. In the
if it's
bathroom.
concealed in a space, that tile that now is saturated, that concrete saturated, it gets crumbly in the wall, you don't see it, but it's saturated back in there. And if it's enclosed, it will produce mold. Now the nice thing about a 60-year-old home is we didn't insulate them very good. We didn't have windows that seal things up so tightly, so they breathe. So the commonality of mold in a 60-year-old house is nothing like a new one. We just don't find as much, and if we do, it's very concentrated. It's some area that got closed up. Okay, what will mold sampling determine? We talked a little bit about that. Types of mold present, abnormal amounts of spores in the air. And when you get a mold report, a lot of times I have to go over it with the buyer. I don't get a copy, but they'll call me sometimes, and I say, well, let's go over it. And you'll have usually 3 columns on an air sample. And you're gonna have 2 categories. You're gonna have your outdoor sample that gives us a baseline. Then you're gonna have your indoor sample that tells us, in comparison to the outside, what molds are there. So if we take our outside sample and there's not any Stachybotrys in it, and the in-store sample says yes, and then highlighted in red it says growth, we got a problem. So a lot of people, they look at those reports though and they said, it looks like Greek, because it's just so much information. And then they give you a line-by-line description of what mold spores you have, what they are, all the scientific end of it and problems that can be associated with it. But that would give us a definite report to go on, so if you've got anybody that's allergy problems, you learn a lot about your customers during the process. Oh, little Joey, he's got breathing problems. Well, hey, maybe we better do a mold evaluation. I had one this last week, brand new place. Had all kinds of water issues. They had water from the master bath on the 3rd floor getting all the way to the basement. It's just running straight through it. Now, if they get that corrected and dry that out, that shouldn't be an issue, because a lot of new homes get wet during the construction process. But if it got trapped in there, we don't know immediately if we've got a mold problem. So I recommend 6 months and 1 year, you do another evaluation. See if something's happened that we couldn't tell. Okay. What about radon? Does everybody do radon? Pretty much the norm now. The EPA recommends it. Radon is a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas that occurs naturally everywhere. Radon is present in all homes, regardless of when the home was built or what type of foundation. New homes, slabs. So the EPA recommends that we test them all. Radon is the leading cause of lung cancer among non-smokers and is a deadly gas emitted from decaying uranium, which it comes from the products in the earth, stone, soil, and it's, we're on a granite base in the Atlanta area or North Georgia anyway. But there is less of detectable high levels in certain homes, but it can exist in all of them. So we took over 2,000 inspections that we recorded. And this is us, this is not EPA. In the metro area, we found that 19% had radon levels above 4.0, and that little CIL is picocuries per liter. That's how it's measured. And that really doesn't mean anything to us. Just keep the 4 in mind, okay? So 4 or less is what's considered acceptable. There is some rumor that they might reduce that to 2 or less, which means everybody's going to be in trouble. So 24% of those homes with a basement had high levels. 8% with a crawl space. Now this is a heavy gas. It comes from the ground, but it stays low. So basements always should be something we test. It doesn't mean they all have high levels, but they should all be tested. Crawl space, you would think, well, it's under the floor, but we're still getting 8%. A slab is flat. Every time you walk out the door, you ventilate it. So it's rare to get a lot. And that 4% is usually if that house has been closed up. We are able to get a closed environment and test that. But rarely does that occur. It's a 48-hour test. Somebody's coming and going, unless it's vacant. So it does exist everywhere. It gets through from the ground, through openings, foundations, piping, comes up around the outside of the home. New homes, a lot of times it can be a little higher because they've disturbed the soil. It's letting it come in a lot easier, especially if there's openings between the floor slabs and walls, pipings that are not sealed. So it could get in a lot easier. But it will dissipate over time. But with a new home, if we can do a radon monitoring, then I would suggest you do it. Because then is the time to put in the mitigation system before somebody finishes out a basement. A lot of builders won't finish out a basement because there's a lot of basement rooms that don't qualify as bedrooms or living spaces. Anybody know what qualifies as a bedroom?
A window.
Easy access to a pool bath.
Closets, yeah, all kinds of things. Windows, the window size, the height of the floor. How many ways out of that room? Does it have free-flowing ventilation, which usually means a window? You gotta have heat. They don't care if it's air conditioned, but you gotta have heat. They want a closet now. You can't have gas utilities directly off of that room. So if you've finished out a space and your utility room's over here with a gas water heater or furnace, doesn't qualify, okay? You've got to have a different entrance. So there's a lot of things. Ceiling heights. You go in some of them, they're really low, especially an old ceiling or an old home that maybe they've finished out that basement. And I rub that's why I don't have any hair right here. It rubs off on those low ceilings. So there's a lot of things.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's showing that pattern going up through that hot water heater and coming out the shower upstairs. Does a tankless hot water heater affect that either more or less?
Well, it's more about the pipe than the heater itself. Now, there is radon in water. So if you're on a well, you can get radon emitted through when it aerates into the space. It'll release it. But it's a really low amount.
Are you gonna go into how they remediate for radon?
Sure, we can talk about that, and we'll see a little example of it. But now, our test and this is the EPA map really, based on where levels of radon appear to be highest. And I'll tell you all the same thing I tell everybody. I think that red zone is because of population. We got more people testing, so naturally we're going to have more areas come back. The North Georgia area is stone and rock, and so we have a higher percentage, but fewer people probably testing in those outlying areas. In the South, it's called the Piedmont, sandy soils, and radon comes up through the ground really easily and doesn't have to make it in through the house. It's going to go the path of least resistance. The sandy soils are the least resistance. So I think that's why our map is this way. But they don't tell us those things. The levels of radon, the remediation process, is so much easier when the house is being built. I think that one day they will make it code that they go ahead and put the piping system in for remediations, so if levels ever increase, you can simply just add the fan device, which is this. Sometimes you can't see them, but in this case, this would be a remediation that was done after the fact, because if it was done during the process, usually it's inside the structure, going up through a hidden chase where you can't see it. So it's very simple, very inexpensive at time of construction, because the piping materials are probably not even $50. The fan, a couple $100. So if they put it in at time of construction, hey, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to still test if it doesn't have that remediation system, and we're still going to test if it does have it, because they don't always work. They have to verify once this is installed, months down the road, has our radon level reduced as part of their installation. So you don't want to test it whether it's got it or not. But that's kind of what it looks like. There's a pit that's carved out in the basement in the slab. It causes a negative pressure. It draws the air from under the slab, which is hopefully drawing that radon gas and sends it up and out of the house. Should a buyer get a termite and pest rodent evaluation? I tell you what, we're going to stop right here. Let's take a little break, and by the time maybe we get back, we'll have our pizza.
Yes, that would be great.
I just talked to somebody the other day. It was a family. Lives in and he was telling me that all of a sudden he got diagnosed, and he ended up having bowel cancer. And he was talking about the food, but when you said everybody take him to his house for because he wasn't supposed to always organize. Yeah, I mean,
chemicals in there, but this was very this house. If you're in that environment,
so I'm mad. Because he said it just came up out of nowhere. And it was looking out right here in the way.
He sent this to me though. It's so durable.
Probably Hodgkin's. Probably Hodgkin's will usually make that gland.
And then I went to the Times store yesterday, and they all know the guy. They're trying to like merge with him. Yes, I'm excited.
Oh, wow, that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for him.
Huge. That is gorgeous.
And I have the other one. It's a black, like the square print like
yeah,
this.
you have that one too.
But in black, so it's more like sleek. Yeah, I love that one too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I was excited because at first I was skeptical, like I don't know if it's gonna be real. But when I got it, I was like, and then
That is amazing.
Hi, Marco.
and then this is how I know that it's like, and I line it up perfectly with my Right.
Look at
She
that.
told me
See
you
the
could call because I have a rental
perfect
client.
way.
That's
Yeah,
a
he's
great way
legit.
to tell. He is
She
legit.
didn't get an
That is
apartment now.
awesome.
I don't know
The color of the
apartment. She
red
said you
one.
might be able to help
You
her.
can pick the color of
The grommet.
yeah, because I wanted the rose gold to match my
Oh yeah,
watch.
that looks really good with it too.
Yeah, so I have
Well, the problem is
black
her
on
budget
black
was
and
kind of
that
low for
black
me, so she
apple
was. She started
watch.
sending me
It's
apartments off
really,
of
really,
Zillow and
really
everything, and I was
into
like,
it.
no, I
Yeah.
usually work
Is
with
he
those.
online at all?
But I know
Yeah,
you're
I'll
working
give you
in
her
Rome,
email.
so I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any
Name is
way.
Caesar. I know you
number,
would.
so I was thinking
But
maybe
now-
for her
No,
to
see?
You're about fashion.
Selling for
But,
him on the
yeah.
side, that you
Right.
should start getting commission on that. Wow, that is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Okay.
Yeah, like I love my watch.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
he threw I bought two, so he threw this.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
sounds
awesome.
good. And I'll also forward you her phone number and email address, but I'll have to call you
I
as
love
well.
bracelets. Oh, I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah, it's so like
Okay,
cute.
thanks.
Oh my god.
I like the way it comes
Oh
around.
yeah, it's easy to put on. Unlike mine
Yeah.
that I have on today, I just
Yeah, you never
put
take
that
it
in
off.
There. It's like, yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah, I love his work.
Looks
though.
really good together too. The bracelet and the
And he does
watch.
like little men's wallets and stuff. Like,
Oh, wow.
and you can help him make like you get to pick the thread color and like you. So say for instance you see a certain type of wallet that you like, you can send him the like a template of it or
Oh, that's
whatever.
awesome.
Right, I know you into stuff like that, but I'll give you the email though.
Oh, that looks
Both
great.
you guys.
You know what I found too?
Thank you.
One of my clients is like, you didn't
Right.
Snapchat.
Okay, let me get my phone.
Which is that too high?
No, it's fine.
That's how we communicate. Really?
That's how you communicate.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's how
You know what I
I
like to do, like when I go to the house, I make Snapchat videos. And like videos of it, and people are like, oh, I like that house, where is it? Blah, blah, blah. It kind of
I'll be
starts
hitting him
talking.
up. His website.
Right, yeah.
Especially with
Oh,
holidays,
more
they make
stuff.
It's gonna be adventurous.
Yay.
If this was a movie,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
it comes with the watch piece then?
No, I bought this.
Oh, you
myself.
do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That looks really good with it though.
And he does, I think Gucci too.
Oh, wow.
Wow. He just.
He's all of, I think he has to just be wanting to get his name out there because he's no reason why his prices should be so cheap.
Where did you get the watch piece?
From the Apple Store.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I have
I
mine.
didn't know they
Yeah,
had
he
rose
has
gold.
mine,
Oh, yeah.
So that rose gold, silver
Totally the
gold.
way to go.
Yeah, and it's so convenient.
Oh, yeah.
But that's very. I think that's perfect for you.
Oh, yeah.
I think
the
so
rose
too.
gold,
Yeah.
Definitely.
My boyfriend spoils me. He bought it. I
Very
can't take the
pretty.
credit.
It's nice the attachment matches it perfectly. I mean, you couldn't get a better lineup with that.
You couldn't
Just
get
be
a better.
cautious.
It looks really
Yeah.
sweet.
Do not you lose that lady, whatever you do.
No, because I can't just go run and
No,
get
you
another
can't
one.
just go get it. Exactly.
Right.
One of a kind.
Right, it is.
Beautiful. All right.
What's your email? I'm gonna go ahead and forward this.
Trisha. Yeah, I'll just give you one of my comments. Oh yeah, you did.
I skipped breakfast this morning.
Thank you so much. Love that.
I'm gonna put you in the email too.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. Thank you, and I'll make sure I give you your pen back. I'm going a little further with it now.
Oh.
Oh, she's got one, so we're good. I just wanted to make sure you were included in the sign. Thank you. You're welcome. There you go. Thank you again. I have a imprinted pen. It's just I ran out. Lost opportunity there. But it's not really a marketing opportunity, so I try to keep it very low key.
Right.
Any marketing because it's a class. It's not marketing. Even though that's all I do, so it's hard for me not to.
Not to.
Yeah, Mark.
She said, oh, I wasn't thinking about it. I just gave out the
I just gave them out during class. Not good. I mean, you guys need them to know, so it kind of would work, but.
But you never know, you might
Never
use that
know.
pen
That's
and
right.
you might gain some business from that.
Do you
Yeah.
think
Oh,
spring
yeah,
or
definitely.
this with you, or is this something we can get a
Trish is the little booklet lady. She
Okay.
usually, Trish, you leave these in the offices, don't you? Or
I bring them in, yes. I'm coming in on the 14th. I'll be presenting at the sales meeting. Would you like a couple more?
I would.
Okay.
This is nice for us to put our card in here. And
Most definitely.
this is
That's
very
right.
educational.
Yes, we market those very heavily, but since it's a class, I don't bring in extras because we're not here to market. But if you ask me one off, I will make sure I bring it. Will
Okay.
you be here today?
I will.
You will? Okay, great. I'll look for you.
Okay.
I'll bring some extras.
Okay, good.
Thank
Perfect.
you. Enjoy the class. Questions?
Yeah, because these
Yeah.
we can share with our clients, and this shows what sets you guys apart from other inspectors. And it goes beyond the inspection.
Yeah, we don't feel like.
Well, I was only, I got here.
When I leave the home, it's all over.
I bought a house, a little over 2 years ago, and had an inspection done on it. And I had no idea, I just took the recommendation of my realtor.
Oh, yeah. I'm 30 and that's
We'll talk about it.
You're fine. Yeah, what about that?
That's what back when it was so hard.
Oh, God, I missed that.
They finally used to keep up with my stuff.
Because I went
Yeah, so the email is yesterday on the day. Because by the day,
You're not looking for a house. You don't care. Right. And then you go in the real estate office. That's where I'm going to be with him. Well, back in the old days, contract about you got this period of time. They didn't know they could. And that's how I was like years ago, because people would ask me to come look at a house for, friends. They were looking at so-and-so. I did a lot of contracts on the side, certified appraiser, I just familiar with the whole process. Can you come look at this house? And then I got interested in, this is something that's going to be. And, how do you get into this? What do you do with this?
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about
I bought a house back in the, the 70s and the 80s. And we didn't have a police station. We didn't even know anything about it.
You would assume, yes, you want to get remediated and maybe more called.
Wish we had that. That's when I had termites.
But yeah, Pete, I'm curious, the Cascade area, are you familiar?
Yep.
So does that bring on higher levels of radon sometimes, that area?
Oh.
Have you seen it?
Since it's everywhere, I don't know particularly that region, but that Cascade, Ben Hill, East Point area, we cover. So, but I don't know. In comparison, if it's higher there.
It could just be a development that the way they dug it up and disturbed it.
If you go out of the West Cascade area, it goes all the way out to Fulton Industrial. Okay? There's a road out there. I lived in that.
My kids, they go to school at 7 and 10, and then I have a 2
There's a road out there called Boat Rock Road.
So yeah, I'm every day this week I'm going home this week. Like everybody's just
Boat Rock.
everybody. Because we get up at 6 now, we just can't take it till the end of the
At
day.
Sandtown? Yeah.
What time does the subway start?
Sandtown, I'm better.
Yeah,
But
so
that
one of the
area will
advantage
all
with the
rock.
new school he's in, they also have started 10 out there. It doesn't sound like the police will start at 7:45. So that extra 20 minutes is a nice little, and then, his school, they used to end at 4:30. And nowadays, every 5, but the last hour is a study.
166
They only
Cancer
come
Road.
to 2, 3.
Turn on Boat Rock
Well,
Road.
it's like now here's
Down
the
about
building
a
study.
mile.
So when you don't get that.
There's this big long wall that looks like the shape of a boat.
So,
We were in Pittsburgh. He was like, his first class was like 7:30. He lasted a long time. He was higher at Stone Mountain. Not necessarily 5. He was almost
so they
start
at 4:30, so you get home at 5. And by then, that was just a long day, so
Didn't want to wait for
it's a
pizza.
short day. I said, even that in itself is worse, because, you come home at 5.
Okay, well, let's get back into a little bit of this while we wait on our pizza.
It all works.
It's the easiest
It's all right.
Do you happen to have a sample report with you? Are you gonna
Sample report.
I know it's hard to.
No, I don't.
So I'm just gonna, I've done an inspection, but some of the newer agents probably have not.
Yeah.
And seeing one is a helpful,
It's hard to redact them enough. I don't want somebody's address and all, but I have done that. Oh. And a lot of people get familiar with a particular report writing style. You know, if you've used an inspector over and over, you're kind of familiar with what their report looks like. Thing with our company, we all use the same report, so you're not going to get a different style every time that you get a report. And it is pretty easy to look at. You're going to have a summary that goes through the things that we call out to need a repair, and then you're going to have your sections from roof to structure and plumbing, electrical, so pretty easy to look at. We don't differentiate a whole lot of things. When you go down the report, it's going to show that it was inspected, not inspected, or maybe it wasn't even present. But if there's an issue, we're usually going to mark it as a repair. Because even if I'm giving you information, I want you to see that information. So when you go down that report, you look at those columns. But now, there may be information in the report, in the column that just says inspected. Maybe I'm just telling you some very general information. So it's very important for the customer, especially, to not just look at the summary. There's a lot of information in that report. If you get a home that's 40, 50 years old, you may have 40 pages because there's a lot of stuff. We use pictures. I do videos. I like people to see what I see. Now, that's why being at the inspection is so important.
That was my next question.
Because I can't tell you enough in a report to give you all my thoughts on what's going on. And I may tell you a litany of things and then follow up and say, but this is pretty normal stuff, you know? Because a 20-year-old electrical panel, although that doesn't seem very old, it's not the same as one new. The same things are not there. Decking. We have changes to decking every year. Codes don't come out but every 4 years. And then if that local municipality doesn't adopt those new codes, it could be 10 years before changes actually occur. So if a deck was built last year, there have been changes to the process. And a lot of times I'm going to call that out and say, hey, it might not meet today's standard, but it might be okay.
How long on, let's say, a 2,500 square foot house, how long do typical inspections last? What should you tell your client to anticipate time-wise, you know?
A 2,500 square foot house on a slab might not take me but an hour and a half.
Okay.
Got a basement, 2 hours, 2.5. Crawl space, 3, because I got to get under there.
Okay.
So it really depends on what it has.
Right, but we can
And
give them
also its
expectations.
condition. You know, if a house is vacant,
It gets a lot easier.
it's a lot easier. And I'm going to tell you so much more because I can see it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And it doesn't mean I'm going to find more, but I'm going to be able to confidently say, okay, I don't think we have an issue, or we do have an issue. But let's go talk about the pest thing before the pizzas rot. And so, pest inspections, termites, rodents, common stuff, right? In Georgia, we've said for years there's 2 kinds of homes, the ones that have termites and the ones that will get them. Okay, so termites are prevalent for us. If there's any kind of organic material that touches the ground, they will find it. So termite problems 30% of the time. Now, a home inspector, our job is not necessarily looking for termites. We do call it out when it's very obvious, but we're not doing a termite inspection. So that's why having a licensed pest person do their job while we're doing our job is very important. And we confer with each other. If we're there at the same time, hey, like I'll tell them, hey, I saw this over here, you might want to check that out, or they go up into something, maybe they're in a whole other part of the house, maybe they've been in the attic and say, well, there's bats up there. So, you know, we talk about these things. Rodent problems found over 35% of the time. You get them in basements, crawl space, attics, all kinds of rodents. And they will find a way in if they can. So we don't know to those kind of things, but that's not specifically what we're looking at. General home inspection may note those issues, but we're focused on those structural mechanical things. Okay, what is a home inspection? Main purpose is to identify any issues that will affect the buying decision. So, those roof leaks, major equipment issues, water issues, structural issues, and we'll find some minor things. Just because one thing is we want to make sure that the customer knows we did see it. Because what does the customer see when they go in the house? If they're walking around looking to buy it, they're seeing the cosmetic things most of the time. Those are their concerns. I had a lady a while back, educated lady, attorney. She was more concerned about the nail holes that were left from the pictures hanging on the wall than whether there was anything wrong with the home. She wanted me to call that out. That should be something they repair. What do I do? You know, we get trapped into things sometimes. That's not my job. But I did call it out in the report and say there may be some cosmetic issues that you want to resolve before closing. I'm not going to tell them they got to repair it. And I don't tell anybody what they got to repair. I'm just making a note of what I see might need repair. So, we're looking to find, those major things readily accessible. We talked about got to get to it. I didn't personally do this. I was at a home. Family just left for vacation. They've been packing up. And they had it all packed in the garage and in the utility area, completely surrounding the water heater. Am I going to move that? No. I'd love to be able to find and see that water heater. I can tell where it's going, but I can't even see it. So the agent was there. She knew they had just left. She calls the listing agent calls the customer. They turned around. In an hour, they were back. I was seeing that water heater. That doesn't always happen. That's very much an exception. So readily accessible areas. Inspection usually follows an accepted standard of practice such as ASHI. Anybody familiar with that? It's the American Society of Home Inspectors. It's the oldest inspection certification in the country. It's the most recognized. Some states use it as their requirement for being a home inspector. They've been around since the early 70s, and pretty much if you're ASHI, then I say the bee's knees. But ASHI is not something that you just pay a fee. Do you guys just pay a fee to be an agent? That's why you're here, right?
So you take these lovely classes.
Yes. So I have one coming up first week of September. I have to have 20 continuing ed credits every year. How many of y'all have to have?
36.
36 a year?
For the 4 years. Every 4 years.
I gotta have 20 every year. So, but there's changes in my industry. We've got all these new things, and here's the problems we had with the old things, and get updates. We forget. You know, at my age, I forget a lot. So, we have continuing ed. So, when you're an ASHI member, you don't just even pay your fee and get to say, I'm ASHI. You've got to do a certain amount of inspections. You've got to have a mentor. You guys probably have somebody that's kind of showing you the ropes. Well, you've got to do a ride-along for so many inspections with a certified inspector. Then you send your reports into ASHI. They verify that you have done it right, that you've reported on what you should report on, and you've reported on what you couldn't report on, and why. Some of these older homes, they might have an opening about this big and a closet, and if the closet's full of stuff, did I move it? I can see where I need to go. Now, if it's just simple stuff, I really want to get there. That's a major concern, major part of my inspection. But I can't get through the hole. So, flashlight, yep, okay, yep, got insulation. Oh, wait a minute, that's a snake skin. Yeah, but that's all I can see. So I'm going to tell you the limitations, that maybe I could only see for 15 feet from the hatch. The rest of it, I'm just guessing.
Is there like a certain list we could let them know, like, hey, he needs to look at this, and this. Can you move this stuff? Like,
sure, and
that
that's
was like a
that
checklist.
guide will help you. You know, when you look at that guide, the kind of things we're inspecting, it should automatically just kind of kick in. All right, you know, they got to get in the attic. You know, a lot of people don't even know where their attic is. I swear, if it doesn't have a pull down that's obvious in the hallway, they might not know. And I've been in homes that all that stuff is just completely blocked. The only way that you got into the attic may have been through a vent, a gable vent. And we just can't get there. They never left any access for it. Now, speaking of that, a lot of utility stuff, heating air systems are in attics, especially slabs, okay? There's a requirement for that opening and that there be a walkway and a certain amount of workspace in front of that device so that you can repair it. That's code. A lot of times we get into things and I can't even get to it because there's no walkway. The insulation is so high that if I step in there, I don't know if I'm going through the ceiling. So there's things that get called out that are not necessarily damage or repairs, but it doesn't happen. It's just not there. It prevents us from doing these other things. Now,
We have the pizza?
Yeah.
Just as a reminder?
Yeah, let's have it.
Is it a good stopping point?
Yeah, it's a good stopping point.
Okay, perfect. Don't want anybody to get too hungry.
I know we just had a break, but grab a slice of pizza.
Yeah, it
And
just is a little off, but.
if you can grab it neat at your table, we'll keep moving. Oh my goodness. I believe that young lady right there needs to sell a house or two so she can get a new jacket.
What did you say?
I said, I hope you can sell a house or two so you can get a new jacket. How much extra do you pay for all those wore out spots?
But now I don't.
That's the latest style.
You sound like
When I was a kid, if somebody wearing a jacket like that, we said, man, that comes
They
from
were
poor
going
house.
but then they came back and said,
I had on some, working at our family tree, I had on some pants.
Oh my God.
You know, just like this native for baby.
Yeah.
To take them off my great grandmother.
Thank you for lunch.
Oh, you're welcome. That's Trish's contribution.
Let's get breakfast this morning, so.
Well, I got here a couple minutes early when I found where the place was. I went over to Panera Bread and got some coffee and a little pecan thing. I don't like to start speaking in my stomach. Get
30. Somehow that's like all my.
Used to come over here, there was a place right over there across from Panera. It's a Cheeseburger in Paradise. It's closed up. We used to come have some birthday parties there.
Was that the Jimmy Buffett
Yep.
restaurant? I love his restaurants.
Yeah, they're good. I've eaten at several of them, but that one was like the only thing in Atlanta that was similar to it. But
There's a lot of those in Florida now.
yeah, all over. They're in New Orleans. There's one in Charlotte. There's one in Savannah. Yeah, they're just kind of mixed around all over the place.
There's cheese up there down here.
Anybody originally from Georgia?
No. Never.
That's kind of rare, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, everybody got email on that stuff.
What's the favorite pizza?
Cheese right now.
Cheese?
Margarita.
Margarita. Pepperoni, probably high on the list.
I don't eat like a lot of meat though. So.
Oh, you're the veggie girl. Yeah, I like veggie pizzas myself. What's your favorite pizza places?
I'm from New York, so.
New York thin crust?
Actually, I enjoy Chicago style pizza better.
Yeah, I've had those too.
And everybody from New York hates me for saying that, but it's the truth. They have better pizza than us.
I don't know. I like
It
thin
is,
crust.
thank you. You're from New York too,
Yeah.
so they
It's
do.
the water in New York that makes
That's
it
what we say.
It's the water? Yeah.
The water makes it better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say it's the water.
They say it makes the crust better.
It does.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
even
Like
with
they have this
bagels,
thing
it's
called,
the
like,
water in New
Brooklyn
York.
water bagels.
Well, yeah, now you can't beat a New York bagel.
Yeah,
The only
but it's
place
still
around
water,
here
so-
that I find that has anything close is Goldberg's.
Oh yeah, I had them yesterday actually. From
Yeah,
my
they're
house.
good bagels.
Yeah, but it's still
Anytime I go
water.
close, I go in and get a bag full, take them home. Well, a lot of times it's really simple and working. It's shingles. And then when you install it, then you have a labor warranty kind of thing for install. So yeah, anything like that, stick it out.
Me too.
Because, you come to see
For my for a buyer. And I'm looking at this property. It's gorgeous. I was with the dad. It's like, oh, it's my ex-son. I still don't think I was doing the terms. Wow. Looking at the property, But we're on good terms.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah.
We were together for a really long time, so we're like family now.
I mean, do you pay referrals?
You have to be real careful what you do with paying referrals. There's there's what you can do.
So there were no Alabama fans here.
Now, you
Well,
can-
I'll make
you
sure I
can send
slow
the mailing
down
to the
so
people
everybody
in
understands.
Send the mailing to who are living there. See if they're-
Hurricane, Miami.
But you have to watch out what kind of referrals.
I know that's about sports.
I might just go and just give my cards to the people up there and just not.
But you could do a farming, you figure out their
Oh, yeah?
apartment, how they code their apartments, what the numbers are. You could then do a mailing of that subdivision.
Okay.
Well, before I had a kid and went to Alabama, I said I was a Florida fan just to make the Georgia fans mad.
That's all right.
Baseball fans? Anybody been to the new stadium? Great
I
place.
live right by
love
the
it.
stadium.
I haven't been there.
It's so much easier for me. I live in West Cobb. So I can go Windy Hill straight to the ball. And what used to take me an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get out of the parking lot at the old one, I'm home in 20 minutes.
Where are you at in West Cobb?
Lost Mountain.
Okay, I live in like Mapleton area.
Okay.
And I have a place in like Phoenix too, so like I go to like the Battery for like dinner and things like that. It's a really nice area just to hang out.
Oh yeah, you can walk
It's
around,
not
even if
congested.
there's not a ball game, you can go over there and do something.
It's not
We were
congested at
we
all.
were supposed to do that this weekend.
I know you act like that's all the time. Have a kid play with baseball.
Yeah.
No, I'm by default.
Yeah, we're big baseball fans. Kids played, I played. My brother-in-law was a professional umpire, retired. I don't matter what I'm sitting down to watch on TV, my wife will say, hey, there's a ball game on. Okay, so if I go on, don't choke. Okay? Yep. If you have questions, swallow first. All right. So, what are some of the biggest concerns for a buyer?
How old is the HVAC?
How old is that? Because right now in Georgia, we got to stay cool, right? So this thing and roofs, top of the list. You know, and they'll put that air conditioner before they'll put heat. All right? You know, because you can get a blanket in the wintertime. You can only take off so many clothes in the summer before you start to offend people. Okay, so this is an older unit. Now, this system was working great. It's older. It's the old coolant style, the R22. You've heard of that? EPA is regulated now. We can't use R22, so that becomes an issue with this because it's R22, and you can't. If you get R22 to charge your system, it's going to be expensive. So when a service guy comes out and you're having a problem, he's going to say, "Hey, it's going to cost you $500 just to put Freon in. Let's just look at a new system." Okay? But this system was working good. It's R22. We make a note of that in our report. So we want to make sure that the buyer understands, hey, this is just what you get into with this older system. Eventually they all fail. So it's working. It's not that big a deal. We're just letting you know you might replace it rather than work on it when the time comes. But the problem this one had, this was an older place. The air conditioning had been changed out. Our older air conditionings, less efficient, took a lot more power, okay? A lot of times when somebody changes these things out to a more updated system, they don't change the electrical service that's required for it, okay? So this unit required a 25 amp electrical service. These are 60. So, now this is an old fused disconnect, but that's 60 amps of power where we only need 25. So, what happens when this system has a problem and it fails, it can be an electrical fire issue because that circuit doesn't recognize it as a problem and it does not blow that fuse. Therefore, wiring back up through to the main panel starts to melt, and that becomes a fire hazard. Okay? These are the kinds of things we look at and call out. So if you've got a system that's been replaced on a 40-year-old house, that could be a concern. Okay, what is a home inspection? Oh, yes.
Can you share your experience with us about what kind of power of AC unit suitable for how much square footage?
Sure.
House?
Yeah. So, the question is how much air conditioning we need for the size of a home.
Yes.
Okay.
And then what power?
Yes.
You have some term.
Well, air conditioning is measured in tons. Okay? So, most units that are a packaged sort of like we just looked at, most of those are going to be a minimum of 2-ton units on up into 5-ton units. and then we get into commercial size, okay? But for residential, 5 tons. And usually if it needs more than 3 tons, we're just gonna put in a whole other system. That's why you might have one for upstairs, basements, so on, okay? So, with that in mind, new systems are a lot more efficient than the old ones. It used to be that 1 ton of cooling was approximately 800 square foot. That's not a lot. Now we're in that 1,000 to 1,200 range, okay? So a brand new home that's 2,500 square foot, probably gonna have 2.5 ton units.
Oh. Do you guys want it on?
No, I was getting sleepy.
Oh, you want it
Good.
on?
No. Perfect.
You guys sure?
I forgot to ask him to do that.
I know,
Okay.
it is sleepy in here with the show.
Yeah, especially after pizza now. So I'm glad we didn't have fear too. So, yes. Now, here's the thing with cooling. What's it feel like when you open your refrigerator door? Cold, moist, okay? If you have too large of an air conditioner system, your house is going to feel like a refrigerator. It's going to be cold and damp and moldy, okay? Air conditioning systems are calculated smaller than the space because they've got to run a certain amount of time to take humidity out of the air. If it runs quick, makes it cold, you don't take the humidity out of your air. Been riding in your car on a humid day, you turn on your air conditioner and you get this fog look from it. You ever seen that? Yeah. That's what your house would look like if it didn't run long enough. Your vents get wet. Seen that? So that's the same thing, and you don't want that to happen in the house. So that 2,500 square foot house now probably only has 2 units that are 2 tons apiece instead of 2.5 tons. Okay? So people ask me that a lot. Oh, I want it to be cold in the house. Or some guy told his heating and air guy when he needed 2 tons of cooling, put a 4-ton unit in here. I want it like a freezer. Yeah, you're going to be cold, but you're going to be moldy too. So it does make a difference. You cannot oversize your system and be, you oversize it, but it ain't going to be right. Okay? Now, we don't call that out unless it's just super obvious. Okay? If I go into a 1,200 square foot house that's got a 4-ton unit, yeah, I might call that out. But I don't calculate how much it should have. That's not part of the home inspection. But now when we do the report, there's going to be a notation for the buyer to have the heating and air person do that calculation to make sure that what's there is correct, that that amperage we were just talking about is correct, see that the system is fully, safely functional. Okay. What's a home inspection? Did I answer that okay for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Anybody
have
else?
another question.
Yes.
When you have 2 units, what is the recommended temperature that you can tell us for each individual unit? One for downstairs and another one for upstairs?
Okay, yeah. Now what we're looking for is a difference in temperature from what goes in and what comes out. Okay? Now that is different for every home. But what we're looking for is a range. Okay? If that system has several different factors that we're looking for to see that it is cooling and running correctly, for me is to say, okay, in general, just keep it serviced. But the air going in, the ambient air of this room, if it's 70 degrees and that vent over there is giving me 62 degrees, that's great. But if it's 65, 68 degrees, then there's not enough difference there, okay? What we're looking for a system to be running correctly at levels that are producing that cold air that we're looking for 16 to 22 degrees difference. Now, those systems that are in attics can't produce that because they're coming through this time of year 130, 140 degree temperatures before they ever get in the room. Okay? So they are affected by it. Now those systems, those homes that have two systems, you've got an upstairs and a downstairs, they're designed to be operated the same at the same time. Okay? You can't work one and say you're going to save a little money by not working the other, because they're relying on both being the full amount that's needed. So if you want to turn off the upstairs and just use downstairs, you're going to always have that hot air getting into your system. It's going to get in there. And it just makes that system very inefficient. But if you use that upstairs within a couple of degrees at least, then you're going to cool or heat properly. Okay, home inspections have limitations. For example, electrical outlets behind furniture, we can't get to all of them. We're trying to get a representative amount of what's going on in a room. Windows, the same thing. You know, if I try to open windows that can, but behind, you know, a big piece of furniture, I don't want to climb over the couch to get to it. That's just, they probably wouldn't like that. But home inspectors are general practitioners. Now, there's not, you guys are not old enough to know this, but when I go to the doctor, if there's something wrong other than, you know, you got the flu or whatever, they say, I want you to go see this specialist. You know, you got this little thing going on right here. Go see so-and-so. So we're general practitioners. When we look at a home, we're there for just a blink of time. We're trying to see what's going on. Do we detect that something's going on? But we don't determine what's going on. It's just, is it going on? So we're going to send you to a specialist. That's why we point out, we want you to have a heating and air specialist take a look at this system. You want to have a roofer evaluate what's going on. Got slow drains and plumbing? Hey, get a plumber. You know, that's for the time that we're there. That's what we're there to do. So the condition of the home can differ at the time when somebody moves in. So you've got a closing that's 40 to 60 days. Things change, and when people move out and they've got the contract signed and the deal's done, they don't exactly take care of all the things. You know, I can look at a heating and air unit and filter looks good today. 60 days down the road, it probably needs to be replaced. So you don't want to look at my report and think you're good for a year. There's things that need to be done sometimes on the move-in. Smoke detectors. You know, report always is going to have a note to make sure they're all fully functional on the time you move in. Because those batteries start to go chirp, chirp, or somebody takes one out, right? So, you know, consider a home inspection a snapshot of time. Inspector can only report on conditions at the time of the home and for that period that we're there. That 2,500 square foot house, 3 hours max. Anybody do condos? How big are they? 1,000 foot or less, maybe? You know, unless you got one of those fancy things going in. I look at some of them that I can spin in a circle and see the whole thing. You know, the only door is one to the bathroom. So, you know, I can be done in less than an hour, easy. So if you're going to be there or have your client there on a condo, tell them to go ahead and get there. And we send out a little notice to our buyers or whoever's attending the inspection, you know, hour and a half, you need to start being there, but on a condo that don't work, I'm already gone.
Question.
Yeah.
So for example, that panel that was hidden behind the mirror, would you put that as someone or an electrical person needs to come in and inspect it on your
I'm gonna refer that it needs to have further evaluation prior to closing. That could be me coming back, or you just go ahead and get the electrician. If I see conditions serious enough in the home, I may just go ahead and say have an electrician evaluate your electrical system. You know, other things lead us to believe here's what's going on, and that might take more than me just saying that one receptacle's bad. All right, basic things that all home inspectors will do: enter accessible areas, crawl spaces, attics, operate permanent major appliances, HVAC systems, water heaters, inspect a representative number of windows and doors, Runoff plumbing for a short period of time. Now, how long is a short period of time? You know, I don't want to leave it too long while I go look at something else because it may run over. Now, if let's say I'm in the master, there's your bath. I go in there and I start all these things because I'm looking at a lot of different things. I want to see if I flush the toilet, can you still take a shower? You know, do you have to run around in a circle to get wet? So, but you know, I'm looking at water flow. I'm looking at flow in and out. So I want to let it run. But if I go down to the basement, start fiddling with something else, and then I'm looking at, God, why is our water coming through the ceiling? You know, I don't want to leave it. So, you know, it could be a problem occur while I got my back turned. So it is a period of time based on the conditions we're going to find. Because I have turned on a sink, walked over here to look at something else, and I go around and I'm like, whoa, turn it off. I don't want to cause a problem in the house. So we're going to evaluate drainage around the foundation. The gutters are not code. Water control is. Okay? So if you're not controlling the roof water and the area around the home not controlling the water, we have an issue. Now I'm going to recommend, if you don't have gutters, that you put gutters on it. But I couldn't theoretically tell you on a new house it's missing its gutters and that's code. But water control is. So we work around that. You're going to get gutters. We do remove the electrical panel. Check representative number of lights and outlets. New houses, you know, a lot of times when things are under construction, you don't have your final stuff in. So, you know, maybe you got just a cheap old light fixture in the living room or whatever. So you want to make sure when you go back through the home for a final that it's all there and it is working. Structural items, roof and foundation. Inspect cosmetic items. These are things we don't do. Inspect the cosmetic items, but I'm going to make a note. I'm going to have a picture. If I see that you're going to see that might be a problem, I'm going to tell you it's not. Okay? But I'm going to let you know with taking that picture, I saw it. We're not going to move furniture or personal items. We're not going to dismantle equipment. Inspect the interior ductwork. We can't do that other than right at the furnace. They cannot see inside the walls. Enter areas that are inaccessible. That attic space or that old 100-year-old home with no crawl space entrance. We don't inspect trees. Just had a client this week, new home. Get there and I'm talking to young people and I'm like, okay, what are your concerns? I want to know what they have a problem with so that I can either look at it and say it is, or, nah, don't worry about this. This is normal. But they wanted to know about the trees. Well, if they're not touching the house, not really part of what we're looking at. So if they're concerned with too much vegetation and trees around, just get an arborist. You know, they'll be glad to come take a look. You got dead trees, they probably ought to come down. Now, I like to do what the buyer really is worried about. So I reference that the dead trees could become a problem to the structure. Have them removed, okay? I'm not telling anybody they got to do anything, but I'm making a reference. Determine if the dishwasher will wash dishes or if the oven will bake your cake.
Pete,
yes.
Can I just excuse you or can I interrupt you for a minute? As far as the trees, what about like the old trees? Because I know when I present to my offices, I do mention that, you know, with the roots getting into the system, and we've had a lot of the sewer guard warranty pick up that situation and cover if there's a situation that starts to happen with those old roots getting into the system once the family moves in and there's a load, and I know you cover that, but just scaling it down from just aesthetic on the trees,
sure,
the root system and the older trees.
And it's all within reason.
You'll
if we
discuss
detect,
that,
okay,
right?
you know, I get some of these old homes that might have this 10-foot diameter poplar tree at the foundation. I know it's doing foundation damage. Or if, you know, you've got this big tree and you got this old sewage line going out to the front and the water's slow, yeah. You know, we're going to reference things just from experience of what may be causing some issues to look at. But, you know, we're down over here 100 yards and there's a dead tree. I'm not going, that's not my deal.
Yeah.
But as far as the dismantling, yeah, we're going to open the system. I want to, for one, show you, the buyer, where they're going to change their filters, okay? This one happens to be in the blower compartment. So if you don't know that little thing comes off of there, you might not ever change a filter. Electrical systems, because, hey, it all works fine. But if I don't look in here, I can't tell you, has somebody decided they wanted to put 2 wires on that circuit? It's called the double tap. What that does is not necessarily a fire hazard, but it's a convenience hazard. The panel got full, and they said, working in the basement, they need one more outlet, or they're going to run a light someplace. The panel's full. Let's just hook it to that circuit right there. It won't be any big deal. Yeah, it'll work. But now, let's say that this other circuit, or both of them are wall outlets. Now, vacuum cleaners are probably one of the things that draw more amperage in a home as far as an appliance that you're going to use on a regular basis. So, you never know this problem until you hook up to that one certain outlet and you're vacuuming and boop, no more power. What's going on? You tripped that circuit. You overloaded it. Now, it's not a fire hazard, but it's a convenience issue. Now, if you start bypassing stuff, you could create a fire hazard, but for the most part, it's just a convenience thing, and maybe over time you learn, don't plug into that outlet with the vacuum cleaner. Okay, but we have to look. Now, see, in this case, he actually had an extra wire here. And not a problem, doesn't hook up to anything, but they ran an extra one there for a piece of equipment somewhere. Okay, so how do we set those client expectations? Give the buyer the seller's guide. The buyer-seller guide, okay? Tells a lot about what to expect, tells about our warranties that are going to come with the inspection. Now, we don't give these warranties to the seller. Now, Trish will tell you that you can buy a warranty that will cover the seller, but this is the free warranty for the buyer. Okay? So you can give them this and give them a lot of information. Tell them about, we want to be able to get to those places based on the home inspection and what we're going to test. So if they're storing things in their dishwasher, hey, they do. You know, last minute, I'll get this stuff off the counter, throw it in the dishwasher. Well, when I see boxes and books and things in there, first of all, I'm going to suspect it can't work, right? So, anyway, buyer's guide is a great thing for your buyers. Make sure they understand that the home inspection is only, you know, that short period, that 3-hour time. Now, if we got a 6,000 square foot home, we're going to eat up 3-4 hours. Now, they book us for a certain amount of time, no matter what that inspection is. So, if it's a condo, they're going to block me out for 3 hours. It's going to say that on their information, and I hope they'll get away from that because buyers really do look at that as we're going to be there 3 hours. But so you kind of got to think about the size of the home and what it is. But let them know what our purpose is, what we're supposed to focus on. You know, if they've seen cosmetic things in the home, you guys are smart enough to realize, okay, now if there's a big crack, yeah, we'll get the inspector to look at that. But nail pops, corners that just, you know, not neat, we're going to look at it again, but we're not going to really focus on those things. I'm not worried about the color of the carpet. You know, whether it's got real hardwood or whether it's a laminate. Okay. So, how do you set those proper expectations? Make sure they understand that the current conditions of the home. I had one of my regulars this last week. She told me, she said, "Yeah, I've got one coming up," and you know, I told people that they had already looked at another house and turned it down, and so they were looking at this one. She said, I just want y'all to understand, this one may be worse than the one you just looked at, that you just turned down. You know, so proper expectations, because people fall in love with a home. They go into those flips and they look great, right? And we get to crawling around in certain places and say, well, it looks nice. Explain the life expectancies. This other little guide, you get into the life expectancies of equipment. Tell them that some problems may not show themselves during the home inspection because the inspector does not put the load on the home that a family would. For example, toilets leaking, various things. So hopefully we know those things, but they do occur. Choosing a home inspector that is licensed. State of Georgia doesn't require any kind of licensing for a home inspector. Now, states around us, when Alabama requires it and Georgia doesn't, go figure. But eventually it will. But that's why you want to deal with somebody that's certified, preferably ASHI certified, and a company that's large enough to be insured. So you want to, you know, if most inspectors are just one-man deals. This time, or times like these when we're busy, how many been doing this for more than 5 years? 10 years? So you saw the slow times, didn't you? Me too. You know, I'm out looking for a part-time job now because it's just nothing going on. But now you're busy. How many friends do you have come up to you and say, how do I get into this? You guys, your pockets are full of cash, right? Same thing with inspectors. I get clients ask me, how do I get into this? You know? And I'm like, don't even start. I mean, it's a headache. So, you know, that one-man guy, hey, bless his heart, I've been there. It's tough. But you want to protect your client. You want, you know, with RIA, we have quick scheduling response, full service menu of things. If you look at the back of one of our cards or information, there's all kinds of stuff we're going to be able to do. General liability insurance, errors and omission, which is kind of like a doctor's malpractice insurance. Workers' comp, warranties to protect your buyer and protect you. We don't want you coming out of pocket for anything. Frequently asked questions about home inspection. What liability does a home inspector have after the inspection? Anybody? Something's missed? Does the home inspector have any responsibility? Answer depends on the company. Home inspection is not state regulated, so the home inspectors can have anything they want as their contract. Most inspection companies limit their liability. No protection for the buyer after the inspection and protection for you. So remember, a home inspection only consists of conditions at the time of the inspection. Reputable inspection companies will stand by their inspection with some form of warranty, guarantee. Again, the guarantee is just my personal guarantee, and if it doesn't work out, I'll pay it out of my pocket. A warranty is covered by some sort of insurance group. Okay, there's a big difference.
What do y'all offer?
We don't offer anything. Trish, what do we offer?
Well, it's not really time for marketing, but since you asked, we're very proud of what we offer. We offer 90-day free warranties that come with every single inspection, and that is noted in one of your books there on the back front page. And we also have an 18-month extended home warranty that any client that has a complete home inspection is eligible for to purchase. So that's upfront value right away for them. It's 6 months free on a traditional home warranty. We are not the underwriters of that warranty. RWS, Residential Warranty Services, are. They are licensed in all 50 states. They have a great Better Business Bureau rating, A+. And we have seen wonderful things with this. We have this platform since last January now, and it's on fire with our agents and clients. It's a great warranty. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But we do have that in place for you guys, but the 90-day free warranty is free with every single inspection. So it gives that little blanket of protection once the homeowner is in. If anything shows up or whatnot, you guys just you can get in touch with me. That's fine, no problem. And I get that moving for you and take it off your lap. Your clients can feel comfortable. We get a claim started. And I've seen a lot of coverages, and it's free money for your clients that shows up with a situation if it wasn't on the inspection report, and I've seen a lot of stress and things like that be reduced, and we literally take it off the agent's plate for you guys. Just get a hold of me and say, my client has this problem, not sure, and we start giving it attention for you guys. So you have that blanket of protection with us. So we say protection beyond the inspection. So it trumps any guarantee situation because it really does take care of that problem.
Of course, if you use Pete Wilson as your inspector, you'll never need it.
You what?
If you use me as your inspector, you'll never need the warranty.
You'll never need the warranty. Well, regardless, sometimes after you leave, something does happen.
That's right.
And not that you missed it.
I couldn't predict that roof leak, could I?
Yeah, not that you missed it, but sometimes.
Yeah, things happen.
A really quick, not to go on and on about it, but the tree root situation is huge with those big mature trees. And a lot of times the homes could be vacant for a period of time, so they're sitting empty, and we see families move in with a family of 4, 5, 6, and they start to put a load on that system. And the inspectors would, like he said, they don't check for that. So unless they have a sewer scope done, and a lot of clients do not have that done, they just don't, that's when the problem starts to surface, and that's when the sewer guard warranty really does kick in. And I've seen $2,000 free money giving to your clients to take care of some of that problem. So.
And those are the kind of things, that sewer thing, we can't see.
No.
And since I'm running water at all facilities for a period of time, but that one sink that wanted to be slow drained, does it mean I've got a sewage problem? Not necessarily. Now, my wife and I have a double vanity sink. I am not a hair problem. If my side clogs up, there's something else, right? And she, where does long hair come from on my side? But yes, there's a limit to how much we can know, how much we can see, and that warranty is just great because an older home, although we want things to work out, that older home with that old cast iron pipe, somewhere along the lines, even if it's been replaced on the inside, it might still have that old cast iron pipe out in the yard. We don't know. We don't see its condition. So, okay. Reputable inspection companies will stand behind their work for a limited amount of time if a defect was legitimately missed during the home inspection. What is that stand behind their work for a limited time thing? So we offer a 90-day warranty, but that little one-man guy, he's got a taillight warranty. When you can't see the taillights, there's no more warranty. Ruh-roh. Gosh, that must be the end.
How is the buyer charged? Is it per square footage? Is it per level?
There's several factors that go into it. The age, the square footage, it's got a crawl space, basement, let's say a 1,500 square foot home is probably about the minimum on a slab. You throw 50 years on it, it may go up $45 or so. Full basement might go up $20. It really just depends. I think our base inspection runs about $375.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've seen.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't make the prices. They don't let me do it.
Right.
I'd feel sorry for people to just say, I'm sorry.
Just trying to get in the ballpark.
A menu of services?
Of services or your parcels?
Yes, we definitely have a menu of services. Great question. We actually have a flyer that shows that menu.
Okay.
So I can get it to you.
We'll get it Tuesday?
Yeah, I can get it to you guys if you'd like. Yeah, definitely.
Well, my
Did you show samples, Pete, yet?
Yeah, it's not going forward here. Hang on a sec. Cause I got
Lots more to show you.
what happened? Okay, I'm gonna try to go through this here, a couple of these things I may have to click on because the clicker wouldn't work. So I might have to manually do it here in a minute. What kind of warranties are some home inspection companies required to offer? As I said, tail light warranty is what most of them are gonna offer. But most inspection companies do not offer warranties, guarantees of any kind. 90-day structural mechanical warranty covers major mechanical issues. 5-year roof warranty, 90-day main sewer, 90-day mold. Should the agent or buyer attend the inspection?
Yes.
Do you try to? At least
Yes.
for a portion of it?
Yeah.
A lot of buyers can't be there right now. Busy. Maybe they're coming from out of state. I've had people see a home on the internet. You know, they don't know. They don't have a clue really what they're buying. So you, as their representative, if you can be there, at least towards the end of it so we can go what our major concerns are. We're going to have pictures, videos, different things, but it is important. So yes, usually a good idea to attend the inspection at some point. The end is at some point that's best. Be able to better negotiate what you see, you know, because like I say, I can take a picture and I can put 500 words about that picture, but it doesn't show you what I'm trying to point out sometimes. I might put arrows in a picture, but being there, you know, if I get into that electrical panel, I usually will call the buyer, hey, come look at this so you'll see what I'm seeing. Explain it, because most people never seen the inside of an electrical panel. They don't know what it is. First thing I have to do is say, no, don't touch. It'll bite you. Okay, best situation is to attend, but let the inspector do his job without a lot of disruption. Getting a summary from the inspector at the end is a great way to learn about it. Make sure the buyer understands that the inspector has a routine and process. So, you know, I tell them a lot of times if they're there at the beginning, I say, look, here's what I'm going to do. Y'all go do your measuring, look around. I mean, sometimes buyers are buying first time they've ever been in the house, right? Go look around. I'll have people all the time say, I didn't remember this room. Okay. Should you get new construction inspected? Well, this is new construction. That was this week. And there's a negative slope. There's a hill back of this house. Now, it's not finished, okay, by any means. But it already had water run in the back door this week from a big rain. So we've got to really make sure our drainage is correct here, that we're doing something with the water. Builders are builders by title. Okay? Unless you got the one guy that he builds a couple of houses a year maybe. But these big building people, they're not on site. So even the best builders cannot be in all places at all times. Subcontractors are probably often work on their components without regards to the other ones. We always are, you know, amongst ourselves talking about, you know, this air conditioning guy or this plumbing guy. He didn't care he had a floor joist in the way, he just cut it out to put his stuff in there. County building inspectors, they're overworked now. We're getting back to where we were before the crash, okay? Those local inspectors have got 40 homes a day to look at. They're driving up to the curb and handing the permit to the builder. I mean, you know, they really are. They don't have time to even get out. These, hey, did you correct that problem I told you about? Like, yeah, it's taken care of. Here's your permit. So, you know, they're there for a limited amount of time or not there at all. Code violations are prominent. You know, minimum standards. What's a minimum standard? A minimum standard. You know, It's what the builder has to do. It doesn't mean it's always the best thing. It's the minimum. That minimum was put in place because everybody needs to know what they got to live up to. So the builder has to live up to this, and you, the buyer, consumer, have to realize that's all he had to do. Okay? So it doesn't mean it always meets that best situation for you. So those are the kind of things we're looking at. It might be, okay, we got a code issue, we had a water problem in that house, but here's the kind of things we want you to do as a preventative, or what we would recommend that you do beyond what the builder is required to do.
I have a question. With new build, do you do a inspection before the drywall? Like, how many inspections would you recommend on a new build?
Definitely at least a final, okay? Most people do not get in on that level or before that level, okay? Most people are looking to buy a home that's already under construction in a subdivision, and you see the listing and you go in. If you can catch it before drywall, that is the next best thing, okay? You do that one and then do a final. Because before the sheetrock goes up, I can see the framing, I can see the electrical lines, the plumbing lines. I can see if the air conditioning guy decided he was going to cut this whole section out. When the drywall's on there, it's just my best guess. Okay? Now, the final, we'll see if it all works. I'm going to look at those things that might show up as issues. But if you can catch it before the drywall, that's great. Now, some people will do a lot of phases, ground up. Look at the plans. Watch that foundation go in. See it, afterwards. The stubbed up lines. Then do a framing inspection. Then do your plumbing and electrical evaluation. Pre-drywall is basically what that is. So usually 5 steps, but 3, if you can get in on it at the time of construction, is great. You're seeing that foundation, because the foundation footings, there's a lot of requirements for that. And we've had some good afternoon rains. If that footing has water in it, you can't pour. Okay? It's got to be a dry footing. It's got to be down to a clay base. That's generally going to be in about 24 inches. So, you're buying a home and the foundation's in, 5 years down the road you got a crack, that might be the problem. They didn't do it right. But I can't protect that when it's new. It hasn't settled. Every house settles. As long as they work together and settle together, we might not have a problem. But that footing was wet, it's full of mud, they poured it anyway, and that corner starts to settle. You start seeing a crack across the sheetrock. You start seeing a separation from your ceiling and your walls. Your doors don't close right. Probably something to do with the foundation. Okay. Oh. I don't know why this thing won't click. Go forward. You do it this way. How long? Okay, here's where you get to use your little bit. We're going to get into some ages, a couple of things. So, how long do roof shingles last? And somebody asked me a while ago about a 30-year shingle. Right, okay. There are different designated lifespans for everything. A basic 3-tab shingle that you look at the roof and it's flat. That's probably a basic 3-tab asphalt shingle. Then you got your architectural shingles. You see some difference in the height of the shingle and the design in it. Those are typically a minimum of 30-year shingles. Now, just because we said it was going to be a 30-year shingle or a 20-year shingle, does it have to last that long? Perfect case scenario and you never took it out of the package? Maybe. But there's a lot of effects a roof. Okay? Hardly a summer goes by that somebody doesn't get hay. Then you get the tree limbs on it. And shade causes mildew and molds on shingles. So there's a lot that affects it. So if you've got a 20-year shingle, we're going to tell you best case scenario is 15 to 20 maybe. And if it's an architectural 30-year style, we're going to tell you 18 to 25. Again, we can't see the future. We don't know what will happen. We don't know if that tree limb will stab through the roof. We don't know if anybody's going to ever check those plumbing boots to see if they are worn out. And then we come up with things that we might consider to be defective. So I'm going to let you sort of pass these around because I want you to see the difference before we talk about these much, okay? So you send that one that way, I want to send this one this way. Now, what you're holding on to is an architectural shingle, okay? What she's holding on to looks to be an architectural shingle. This is 30 years, that's 20 years. When you look at the 20-year one, I want you to kind of compare the difference in what it looks like and what kind of shape it's in. How long does a water heater last? Everything has a designed lifespan. And the newer stuff, we've reduced those lifespans. We don't want you to keep it forever. We want you to buy another one.
That's right.
Okay? Why do you think Apple comes out with a new iPhone every couple of years? Tired of the old one, buy a new one. So, yes.
Sorry. What about the tankless water heater? What is the
Tankless water
lifespan?
heaters seem to have a pretty good lifespan, but they hadn't been out there long enough for us to determine exactly how long. You got water running through something, and water does what? It corrodes everything it touches. It's the most corrosive substance in the world, but it works slow. Okay? Water will corrode anything and everything. So the longer it's there, the more it's going to happen. But a tankless water heater, we really just don't know. We're hoping 20 years. But a tank that's holding water, we get about 8 to 12, 15 if you're lucky. Okay? The older they are, the longer they seem to last, because back then people were making things to last.
Right. Yeah.
So how long does an air conditioning compressor last? Again, we don't want you to keep that old one forever. So the answer, cut with the wrong way. Air conditioning compressors about 8 to 15. Gas furnace about 15 to 20. Heat pumps 8 to 15. And water heaters 8 to 12. Asphalt shingles of the 20-year style 17 to 20-ish. Gutters. Now, aluminum gutters, most of them nowadays. You done? Everybody seen this one?
Yeah.
Aluminum gutters, unless they just get bent up, they're not going to rot very quickly. They'll be there forever. But if you got the old galvanized ones, galvanized material, rust. So I wouldn't worry about that one. We'll tell you if they're wore out. General appliances, 10 to 15. Termite treatments, because of EPA, they don't last very long anymore. So 6 to 10. That cast iron pipe we talked about, 40 to 65 years. Eventually, maybe all of that will get replaced in another 20 years. We won't worry about it. Galvanized pipe, the same thing, 40 to 50 years. Paint jobs. We call out a lot of conditions outside because painting maintenance hasn't been done. And who just loves to paint? Not many. You like to paint? I do too. But, still, it's not something I do much more because, back of my house is 3 stories, Cape Cod style on basement, and I ain't getting up there no more, So I have to pay somebody now. And painting ain't cheap anymore. So the paint doesn't last very long because EPA took the lead out of it. Somewhere, sometime, somebody ate it.
What is your opinion on the termite, those little things?
Termite stations, Centricon.
What is your opinion on them? Do they work or?
Well, the termite treatments changed a lot. The termite letters that we used to have to do as a seller don't have to do anymore. So it's, a lot of times it's the buyer's responsibility. That's why we can do termite inspections. Centricon works, but only to one degree. Those stations have to go out within about 10 to 15 feet apart. And they will cover about a 20-foot area. So they overlap each other, okay? They have a pheromone and a termicide in those stations. So the termites get the pheromone, ooh, this is sexy, let's go eat, you know. And they eat it, they die, right? Now, if you've got a large home, let's say you're on a slab or a crawl space, those stations are on the perimeter of the house. The middle of the house could be 40 foot away. That's not covered, okay? That's no longer treated. It used to be that a builder had to do a pest treatment of the soil, okay, before a slab went in, before any construction was done. They treated that soil before they covered it up. But with the Centricon, they've been allowed not to do that anymore. So, let's say you got a column coming up in the middle of the house on a crawl space. That column is now a path for termites up to your floor. It's 40 foot away from those stations that are calling termites out there because there's food. That ain't covered. So I have seen homes with Centricon with termites in the middle.
But now the company should be inspecting every so often, right?
Yeah.
Should
Now,
they?
the Centricon has a great warranty, but I don't want termites in my house, you know? So it used to be when Centricon came out, that they came out and they inspected the house quarterly. Now they're only doing it every 6 months. Termites can eat a pound of wood a day. You know, you just kind of do the math in your head and think, wow, you know, give them a month and have you got a floor system left? So they do a lot of damage in a short period of time. So I personally had Centricon. I had a termite license, did inspections back in the day, and no, I want mine treated with liquid. I want a permanent treatment that I know lasts for a period of time and the termites are not going to go past it. So what can you do to make sure a buyer chooses a good home? Hint, buyer always concerned about the roof and the HVAC. We talked about that briefly. I'm not going to stumble over that one again. Okay, this little place, I showed you a picture of this place earlier in the thing, and this was a little octagon-shaped house. I've only, in 25 years, I've only done 2 that were shaped like this. It reminds me of a yurt. You know what a yurt is? Mm-hmm. And the only other one, this one was in Cartersville. The only other one I've seen was out in Carrollton. But it's octagon shaped, and you know, other than the floor plan, I think is goofy. But this was a 22-year-old roof. Now, its shingles were designed to last 20 years. What do I say about it?
It's done.
It's done.
It's at a life
It's done.
expectancy.
I didn't see any leaks, but it's done. Now, this one is new, brand new home. I did new construction, and that's an architectural shingle. It's like that other one that's running around in here. It's a heavier gauge, 30-year shingle. But contractors of different types, they don't care that a roofer, you know, did his job. Painters, siding installers, man, they get on these little porch covers or any place they can set a ladder and they just obliterate a roof. Now, you can't see it real good, but there's all kinds of worn spots on these shingles throughout this thing. They've damaged a brand new roof. What do you do about it? If it's holes from a toe board, you got to seal them properly. But I'm going to tell my buyer, you know, it's a 30-year shingle, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to get close because you've already got worn out shingles from, that damage. I'll write it up that you've got damaged shingles and they probably ought to be replaced. Have the roofer evaluated. How many builders are really going to do that? Are they going to know? Are they going to tell their guy to come out and put new shingles on? Who are they going to blame the problem on? It wasn't the roofer. It was the people after him. Which crew did that damage? So a new roof doesn't always mean you got a new roof. So, on your initial walkthrough, pay attention. Roof conditions, life, HVAC system. What type of siding? Is it composite board or stucco? The ages. This house, 13 years old. Oh, I got two different styles, two different brands of units there. One of them you would think, why? One of them's a heat pump, one of them's a gas furnace. One on the right is a Rude or Ream brand. The other one is a brand that is kind of a no name. It fell under a brand called York that doesn't exist anymore. They're still made in the same place. But they added a basement right after construction, finished it out, added a different brand of unit. And but they're both an R22. They're both cooling good. What can I say? Other than right over here, where they go through the wall, this is vinyl siding. That's like a little dryer cap. You see that? And this one doesn't have it, so we've got openings where the line goes through. Then we're going to say, hey, you need to seal those, keep the pests out, keep water out. Okay, so ground around the home, does it slope away from the home? Always seems to be one side of a home that's kind of tough. The code requires on a new home that we have a 6-inch fall from the foundation in the first 10 feet. Some homes it just never happens. And then when they do the finish grade and you get the landscaping done, it makes it even worse. Because you got the guy doing the grading, it looks great. Then you get the landscaper comes in and does something else. And then you end up with water against your foundation sometimes. So we're looking for signs of moisture, dampness in the basement, type of plumbings, general conditions of the deck. This is another one where we've got, what? That's the front of the house. And it looks kind of like it's just going right towards the front. So this had been a recent basement finish out. I can't see the foundation walls anymore. They're sheetrocked over. If there is any kind of moisture against the front of this house, I can't see it. Now, do I just ignore that? Because I'm going to have to tell the buyer, you've got a negative slope at the front. We've got to control this water. And I don't know what it's done or what it will do. So again, it's an advisement, but it's the kind of thing that's going to go in the report. So if you pull up to this house and showing a client, hey, it was a nice little house, but you got a negative slope there. Now, it's about a 15-year-old house, but I can't see that foundation anymore. They've covered it. That would be where I would be looking to see, is there any indication of moisture coming in there? The deck gotten real popular for people to put these under deck systems. Don't want water to come through the deck while they're sitting down below it. Okay? Now, decking is a serious issue on any home because, as I mentioned earlier, our codes change all the time. We keep having them fall off of homes. I had somebody I knew a couple of years ago was doing two things wrong. He was frying a turkey on his deck. And then he had company for Thanksgiving. Where did everybody want to be? On the deck. It fell. It burned him and his guest, and he broke his leg.
Oh.
So, that I can't tell you how well that's attached. Now, it's a 15-year-old home, and I know what was required, but I can't see it. It's got vinyl siding. Vinyl sided homes, most of the time, don't get flashing where the deck meets the siding, because they say, well, you know, it's vinyl, it's waterproof. But those attachments go through the vinyl. So water can enter along the siding, down behind the deck attachment, go through and rot where it's attached, and you can't see it. Okay? So it's common that we don't have flashing on that vinyl home, but it's still needed. Still would have been code. But some local official said, hey, it's vinyl, don't worry about it. Okay? So I can't see the attachment. I know what could be the problem, but what do I say about it? So in my report, I'm going to tell them it probably just doesn't meet current standards. Looks okay. I walked on it, it don't shake. But that's the limit of what I can tell them. Now the post had some soil contact. That becomes a termite rot issue. You know, point that out. But other than, you know, it's structurally, I can't tell you there's a problem. All I can say, probably doesn't meet current standards. Now, the people have a party and there's 15 people out there cooking their turkey and it falls. I don't know. Oh, there's our little yurt home again. This thing, right here where the chimney is, that piece of decking, right there, if you had the guts to walk out on that, you'd think you was on a diving board. Deck attachments, over the years, have been attached to what we call cantilevers. Sometimes our chimney chase comes around, our decking is just sort of fit around that chimney chase. These chimney chases don't have a foundation, not on these newer homes. They're just a boxed-in thing for a fireplace. So it was common to frame the deck around that bayed area of the chimney, or maybe a bay window. It sticks out over the foundation. That's not structural. That bayed area is not structural to the home. So in this case, we got a stone fireplace. This is a real one. You can put logs in it and, you know, get your glass of wine and go inside and you're, you know, nice big roaring fire. But the deck is not attached at that point at all. So that's like walking across a tightrope. I mean, it's going to go. It's not attached. It's a cantilever. It's not attached. So that's a dangerous deck. So how can my seller prepare the home for a successful inspection? You know, the minor issues again, not going to be too big of an issue, but let's explain. If you got a stain someplace from a previous leak, try to take care of it. Clean the gutters. I mean, golly, 90% of the homes we look at need their gutters cleaned. You know, when I start seeing trees grow out of the gutter, it's been a while. Oh, cut the tree limbs back. They don't like anything touching the house. Repair any active leaks that they know. Fix small issues, windows, doors. We want those windows to open. We're going to always seem to have older windows that we can't get open. And we're going to tell them you want to have at least one window in every room that you can get out of. Okay? So that becomes a simple issue, but it needs to be where they'll open. Make sure that all the lights and fans are working. Ensure that smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors work. Move items that block inspection access. Unlock all gates. I can't tell you how many. I'm a pool inspector. Sometimes I go just for the pool, and the doggone gates are locked. You know? Get the HVAC service. Change the filters. Get a report from the HVAC system. If you got something you can present to them, hey, it's already been serviced, been checked out, great. Provide reports on all those things. Okay, common issues. Anybody here have something that seems to show up as a common issue?
Wood rot.
Wood rot. That's usually a material issue. Yeah. And it probably comes from some of the materials we've had in the past. This, we'll pass around. And that's one of the more older common issues. This one, start over here. This is new stuff.
What was the era that this was used? Maybe about 20 years ago?
Yeah. It is, so, yeah.
Is this composite siding?
That's a composite, a hardboard material that we reference it to. That particular brand is Louisiana Pacific. You might have heard that. But basically anything that came out, whatever manufacturer during that period of time, it was going to get bad. Another thing that was regulated and changed because of EPA, they made us take certain products out of materials. I guess somebody was eating it again. But before 1978, you could put wood lapped siding on, and there were some manufacturers like Masonite, some of the older brands have been around a long time. It's still in good shape now because it had what it needed to last. Took out the chemicals and whatever preservatives they needed, and now it just crumbles. So that's a hardboard product. Common that we see rot in that because there's only so much you can do to stop it. It's just going to happen. So chimney areas, places that are exposed a lot. Now this other material is what everybody wants to love right now. That's hardy plank. Okay, cement-based fiberboard. We don't see a lot of problems with it, but if it sits in water, it will just crumble. But we don't see those problems a lot. That's why we want to keep water away from the house so that it doesn't happen. That stuff right there, though, you know, could be a drizzle every once in a while and it would rot.
What about with the rain? The heavy rain and stuff?
For this, no, as long as it sheds that water off, it doesn't stay wet.
Oh.
Now, hardy, this is an old piece. You see new construction now, hardy plank before it's painted is yellow. Anybody seen that? Mm-hmm. Okay. That is actually hardy priming their material when it leaves the factory because they don't want it bare like this. It has a watermark on the back. So if the builder or installer doesn't keep it dry before installation and later you have a problem and they pull that off and that watermark indicates it's been wet, they won't warranty it. So the builder's got to take care of it before it goes on.
So comparatively, waste can is more resistible, reliable.
Oh well, yeah. Well, you won't find this anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if it still exists, yeah, it's inherently another one of those things that when we do the report, Louisiana Pacific, or it's a hardboard product, you're just going to get this blurb about it. It's going to tell you that it's been known to be defective and blah, 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 and there were class action suits, and there's not anything anymore, and you're on your own. So it's rot somebody has to fix. So if you're listing a home and you know it to be built somewhere between the late 90s back into the early 80s, it's probably a hardboard product.
My house.
I had it on mine. My house 30 years old, and we didn't know. Okay? Hey, I like that, man. It looks good. You know, 10 years down the road, after I'm an inspector, man, what's happening? You know, so about 10 years ago, I stripped it all off and put this on. I hired my own contractor out of Muscadine, Alabama.
What is piping that everyone's concerned
Oh,
about?
we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go back to the shingles that we passed around a minute ago. Okay? That one that was kind of rough looking, that was this. Atlas Chalet shingles. You ever heard of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll replace if you have one bad one, you should replace every one on your house.
Oh, you've heard that. Yeah. Well, it was a look-alike for an architectural shingle. But it's molded to look like it. It doesn't really have that extra layer of, if you saw, that was the old one and wherever the other one is.
Right here.
Right here.
So you actually have an additional piece of material on this. Makes that a heavier shingle, whereas with the Atlas, it's just a molded design. It's not a heavier shingle. But you saw all the cracks in it. It's a defective shingle. It gets cracks, it gets pits in it. It looks a little like hail sometimes. So early on, people thought they had hail damage. People would come, get a builder or the roofers, somebody going around and say, you got hail damage. So they turned it into their insurance companies. Well, insurance companies were, changing it out, and then they realized we started changing that same shingle out a lot. And there wasn't any hail last year. So, got a defective product. Now the company's saying, and they're not standing behind it, there's no class action suit. So there's no money to recover on this. Some insurance companies are replacing it, but not all of them. So if we say you got an Atlas Chalet shingle, don't expect it to get replaced. Now, the beauty of it is, we stopped putting them on in 2010. 8 years later, we don't have that many of them left. They are still out there. Some of these subdivisions would have had the whole subdivision. The roofer did all the roofs, he used the same thing. But eventually we'll get out of those because it's aging out anyway. But right now, it's a hurdle you have to get over in your transaction. Because if we say it's Atlas Chalet, tell you have a roofer look at it, roofer's going to say you need a new roof. Roofs are not cheap anymore, or they never have been, but they're premium now. You don't get a roof for less than $5,000 anymore. And it'd have to be a barn.
So you really have to just call your roofer and let them do it like case by case, depending on whose insurance.
And if he says this looks like hail damage, run with it. Call your insurance agent. He said, my roofer says I got hail damage, and hope you get out that way. Now, insurance companies, if they know that you're listing a home, they're not just going to give you a roof. You're trying to get a sale.
Do it before.
So get way ahead of this. If you suspect that you've got it, send us a picture. We'll tell you. But do it way before that listing stuff. Because they get a hint you're listing the property. Okay. Do we need another break? Okay.
Class is over at 2:30, right?
At what time?
2:30.
2:30? Anybody that's got to go?
Excuse me, how about a metal steel roof?
Metal steel roofs are very popular now.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't last any longer than a 30-year roof.
Oh, really? I heard it lasted forever.
No, not forever. Ever seen anybody have to repaint one?
Metal.
Nothing lasts forever. And how many products have I mentioned that were galvanized, that rust? Those roofs are galvanized. If you don't keep a coating of paint on them, they'll rust. How many old barns have you seen going down the road with a rusty roof?
Yeah.
It's the same material, it just looks different. All right, here's an example of our sidings. Now, this home was originally covered with Louisiana Pacific siding. Now, if you look right here, that board, this board, they look a little different, don't they? This is where they've already started replacing some boards, okay? Those are hardy plank. And that's what you get into on these things. They just piece them a little bit of time as they have to. Hard coat and synthetic stucco. We don't have a whole lot of time left. We're going to focus on this for a little bit, okay? So these are things that come up all the time because we've got a lot of stucco homes. So stucco. These two look pretty similar, don't they? The finish coating is identical. If you pulled up to a house and it was stucco, would you know the difference?
No.
Okay. Well, without holding these, the best thing that you can do is tap on it. Okay? There's a lot of difference.
Which is the bad one? Which one's the one
That one sounds kind of hollow.
Yeah.
It's foam. It's styrofoam. That's synthetic stucco.
So that's the one that didn't hold up.
That's the one that holds moisture behind it. Okay? This is hard cut stucco. Feels like a rock. It's concrete. Okay? I'll pass these around and look. There's some little nails on the back side of this, little screws, so be real careful. Send that one back that way. So, identification is important. If you're looking at a home that's stucco, one of the easy ways to tell what you're dealing with is what it looks like from the street or when you're up in front of it. Now, from this distance, these are two different homes. We've got a line that you might see along the different levels of the home, first floor to second floor. So when you look at it a little closer, you'll realize that that hard coat stucco, that little line is very smooth, thin little line. The synthetic has a big groove that's primarily just decorative. That little line is like in your driveway. You see the grooves in your driveway? Those are to prevent cracks from going farther down, hopefully. Okay? So that crack is to prevent that crack that you see over here on the right. You see that crack? Okay? That stopped when it got to that line. It's a prevention of that crack because concrete will crack. Doesn't mean there's a problem with it, but it cracked. The other side, synthetic, that's a groove in that foam material just for decoration.
So how can you tell in a house that's brick that has those they just kind of decorative little stucco squares?
On the corners?
Yeah, they can be on the corner, maybe. They're decorative. The house is brick.
Yeah. Well, we call those a coin. They are, for the most part, just a foam piece of material. If it's over the brick, it's just an accent piece.
Right.
It's not really concerned as far as what would happen, but they do damage very easily. Birds love to peck on them. It sounds like a hollow tree. A lot of chimney areas get pecked on.
Our chimney used to get woodpeckers.
Yeah. Now, some of the things that occur that we look at to do a stucco inspection is that the bottom of this stucco was cut off as a preventative for termites, but they did not seal it to the foundation. Okay? It's supposed to have a 45-degree angle and bonded to the foundation. Sometimes that's really tough to have it happen, and so you get cases where, well, the very bottom edge of this you can see it didn't get sealed right. This is along a foundation wall, and the material is actually just glued to the foundation because you can't nail it to the concrete. So it starts coming loose and gets those wrinkles in it. Primarily cosmetic problem at this point, but who wants that cosmetic problem? This is a full one-side synthetic stucco. But now, the biggest problem with any of the stuccos is water getting in it. The biggest culprit for water getting in is around the windows and the doors, anything that penetrates it. With no windows, there's not going to be any moisture, and there wasn't. There's no way for it to get in, unless it was damaged or opened somehow. That was kind of heavy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, let's compare a couple. This home, what do you say? Is it hard cut or synthetic?
Hard cut.
little bitty narrow groove in between the different levels of the home. This is where the synthetic stucco was actually cut, but this is down in the soil level against a wood wall. They couldn't get the rest of it out. So that's what it would look like. Now, I showed you who's got my other stucco wall there. Okay. Now this is a perfect case scenario for how it should have been installed. This is what it looks like when it's not correct. And it's a little dirty, but golly, it's a lot dirty, isn't it? So I got that off of one that was coming apart that I inspected. But all these different pieces involved here. For one, this white stuff, you know what Tyvek is? House wrap. Okay? See it on most new homes. When we were installing this stuff, Tyvek wasn't used. So whoever mocked this up cheated. So what we did cover it with was roofing paper, tar paper, 30-pound felt. And it tears real easily, can be damaged. And what they would do when they put a window in is they just cut this out. So you got all these exposed edges that weren't protected. That's where our water was getting in, okay?
Do you offer if a home is all stucco, do you do a stucco inspection? Is that something y'all offer?
Yeah, that's a separate inspection.
Right.
And when we do it, because a few of us are certified by the Moisture Warranty Program, you can actually get a warranty on the stucco. That is, something we don't market, but it's available to you with our report. Okay, you talk about piping. We'll touch on this briefly because that came up and it's going to be time for kids to get out of here. Okay. The piping that you're probably referring to is polybutyl piping. Okay, that's in your disclosures, right? And on your contracts, you've got to disclose you got polybutyl piping, right? Some people don't even know they got it.
Right, I was going to say that. How do you know that? How do you know that?
How do you know? You get an inspector.
Remember just the color.
Yeah.
So, there you go. That's it. That helps a lot. That really does. Now, this is what you would generally have coming from the street to the house. This is where a lot of failures occurred. Okay? And pass that one around. This one is what you would have inside the house. Now, so many times in our product history, we might have an issue that occurs that causes us just to throw the whole thing out, Could have been one thing was a problem, but it was so associated with it, we just said no. So with this, polybutyl piping, the pipe itself, I have, in 25 years, never seen it leak. I've never seen a problem. My house is 30 years old and I still have it. Okay? Never had a problem. Problems occurred with the connections. This is plastic. The first generation of this stuff came out, had plastic connectors. We put it together by putting this little metal band around it and squeeze it. What happens when you squeeze that metal band around plastic? It breaks it, cracks it, eventually pops, you have a problem. So, this became an effective product because of this, not because of this. So, how do you know you got it? Look at the piping. Now, the age, 79 to 95, is where it's most prominent. Now, you can have it in an older house. I had a 95-year-old home down in the Ponce area, and they added a bathroom during that period. Had polybutyl piping just for the one bathroom. Because it was the bee's knees when they were installing it. How do you know it? Color, if you can see it. If you got a slab home that's got it, maybe look under the sink, see if you see any exposed piping.
Is this a PAX? What's the material of this?
What's the replacement?
No, what was it the material?
Yeah, for this it was material, but a lot of times the leak occurred because of.
This
of
is
it.
also poly.
Yeah, this is polybutyl, but this was
it's
the
not-
exterior pipe.
Exterior.
Yeah. And what happened in a lot of cases with this is it would get punctured from something in its environment. Roots would pull it loose. Still happens to the other stuff too. But you know, it had that polybutyl labeling, let's call it defective. So now what's the anybody know what the common piping we're using in new construction is called? Have you ever seen it? They got white and red and blue. Okay, it's called PEX pipe. It's the next generation of polybutyl. Now, when it first came out, we were smart. We know those plastic connectors didn't hold up with polybutyl, right? Hold the bus. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Going the wrong way. As of March this year, I found my first PEX pipe. You see the little label there? PEX? That's a plastic connector. We're always trying to find ways to cut corners, cut costs. We are creating our next failure.
Now what's that called again?
PEX, P-E-X.
So what's this better material? I mean.
What's the better material?
Than the plastic.
Go back to using metal connectors and it'll probably be fine. Nobody can afford copper anymore, or somebody steals it before you're complete.
Right.
CPVC has been around for a long time, but see, this stuff is flexible. You can run it all over the place without having to do anything but just get it there. CPVCs or PVCs, you got to cut them and put them together, and it's time consuming. And they can plumb a whole house in a couple of hours with this, or with the PEX, but that's going to be the next problem. So, voila, we finished just in time. Any questions?
Okay, so whenever I saw the inspection report, the inspector always highlight, this is a poly pipe, blah, 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 scare the buyers.
Yeah, you know, and that's where trying to anticipate, trying to tell the buyer, look, here's what we could have. You've got your disclosures. Usually are going to say polybutyl on them, right? If they know. But what if it's built during that period and they just don't know? And we discover you got some polybutyl pipe. Now, hey, if the client's there, it's another reason I want them there is because I've got it. And I have never had a problem. And I've seen more copper leak. Okay? And I'm going to tell them that.
So
all
you
right?
can educate the client.
I want to educate that client. But it's still a defective product. And guess what? Some insurance companies don't want to insure it. Okay? You go to get your homeowner's insurance, got polybutyl pipe, they can't cover it.
So you said you've had them for 30 years, right? So I was in my condominium had them. It was in like a pretty big complex, and we had like 40% of the units that had breaks and leaks. So I wondered, did you say, maybe I missed this part, did you replace like the connections and things like that?
No, they usually just take it all out and put something else in.
But in your home?
In mine, no, I have not done anything.
And you haven't had a
I
problem?
did replace the pipe, the blue one, from the street to the house. I did have a leak a few years ago, and when my water bill went up to $800, I wondered why. So, and it was just, I couldn't see it. There was no water on the surface of the ground. It was all digging a trench underneath it. But,
You have
yeah.
really green grass.
Yeah, really green. It's kind of like a septic tank, you know, really green. But now that it's done that, I've got this place that now has fallen in because it washed out underneath. So I got to, you know, put a dump load, a tractor trailer truck load full of dirt probably.
Now, can your average, like the Roto-Rooters or whatever, can they run some kind of testing to test for leaks between, you know, your house?
Pressure test. We do a pressure test when we do our inspections.
Okay.
And that's to evaluate how much pressure there currently is. Now, if I hook up my pressure tester and I see this continuous drop, then we may have a leak somewhere. But it's primarily to test to see is the pressure correct in the house, because we're looking at a range from 40 to 80 pounds, which means you get enough pressure without damaging something. But those pressure regulators that come into your house they can fail 10, 12 years, and you can have 150, 160 pounds of pressure, and then we start seeing your water heater start expelling water to outside because it's got too much pressure on it, or your valves won't turn off right. So there's a lot of little things we're doing to see what's going on in the home in general.
Do you have any business cards?
No, they gave me one. I think I handed it out to somebody already. I always like to say that, like they're just cheap. Want to give me another one, you know? And I'll get some more here.
Is all this information about the estimated time, the life expectancy of the equipment in your website?
The time?
Of the equipment, the components, the life expectancy.
Oh, well, that's why we give out the little book. Our website.
But do you have that in your website as well?
I think the same information is in there.
Okay.
Yes, we have it electronic. There's a website that we have, and nothing Tuesday, I'll tell you guys about it, it's www.riahelpsagents.com. And especially the newer agents, it's a great resource for information. But it does have this guide electronically on it. So if you're working with buyers and you got, a lot of millennials or even myself, I love electronic rather than paper or hard copy. That has a guide on it electronically. So it's www.riahelpsagents.com. And again, you'll find that buyer-seller guide on that electronically. But that website we've devised just for agents, for resource and education. It's got a wealth of knowledge on that website that you'll see, and there's live videos and all kinds of good stuff. So, yeah, so that'll really help you guys.
Anybody else need a card? Didn't get one? Now, I'm not here to advertise for RIA or me. This is for the company. But if you'd like to use me, that's quite fine. Oh, now, if you got a minute, let me see. Pull this up. One of our inspectors is a video geek, okay? So I'm going to run this little video. It's like a movie trailer. I think he did a great job, but it's some spooky stuff, okay?
So circle with the dot.
Bats. We get into some pretty spooky stuff sometimes. This is a plumbing nightmare. That's the plumbing book that said it goes down the roof. That is rushing down the drain line. That last one was termites that were on a drain line because it was leaking. This guy's got too much time on his hand, apparently.
That's actually good.
How far you travel in terms of Georgia, in terms of inspection?
Well, now, if an inspector approves, if somebody requests, it's up to that individual. If they want to go, I've been in Tennessee, Florida, North Georgia, you know.
Because I'm talking about South.
We actually, I was in Newton this week, so we'll go you know,
But sometimes that's the challenge.
There's
Yeah.
extra food if you guys want to grab
Yeah,
on the way.
hour and a half.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
50
coming.
miles is what they kind of look at, but, you know, I had one a while back way out in Rutledge, Georgia, so that was, I think, 60-something from my house. But it really just depends. You know, you can ask, and if there's somebody that's available that will go,
You mentioned that I'm missing one
yeah,
person, so
no
I'm
problem.
glad you reminded
Mhm.
me that you're my missing person.
In front of our house where the water line is in the street that goes from, we know that there's a water, meter.
Meter, uh-huh.
And then across the street. And there is a
I would have just sent
pothole
email
down
me
there.
that.
And I think that pipe there is probably leaking because of, and it's probably causing the soil to.
Wouldn't you, have you noticed an increase in your water bill?
We have, but our neighbor, he keeps on having all this water problems, and he's the other side, and he's had to put in all new pipes and all new stuff, and I'm thinking, I bet you the problem is in that pipe. That's a
Main service line that feeds both the homes, maybe? Yeah,
so
could
he's
be.
having all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
We have.
How old is the home?
They're 25 years old.
Could be probably you.
Right.
From the meter, not, even if it's not in the house,
Right.
could still be from the
So
meter.
like underneath our kitchen, it's the white plastic.
That's probably PVC or CPVC.
So if that could be anywhere else, but I know underneath the sink. But
Could be. Oh, you know, if he's having water problems, I would think he'd have an increased water bill.
oh, he did. He had like a crazy, and he's had. The water company came out. They all say it's different things with his, and he's had to dig up the inside of his house and work it out.
Oh,
I mean, he's had major.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I think that's an issue. And right in front, like where our driveway, the front step, it's only a little step. Right there, there's this little crack. And I'm thinking, this is scary right in front of the house. I mean, this is
could have been, or could have just been compaction. It could have been a tree that was cut down in that area. Now the stump is rotted. All kinds. Contractor pits. They're not supposed to bury scrap, but they all
they
homes they
did.
do.
They did in our. We went to the builder of our house. We were finding so much stuff. We put it all in, and they weren't going to do anything about it. So he had a brand new office. Not put color case. Scraps we put out of our yard. There's no problem. My husband just brand new carpet. No problem. This is what's in our yard.
Tell you what, I had a neighbor that he was having a septic issue.
You did,
We were all on septic, we were way out in the country. And
Yeah, most definitely.
so he was having a septic issue.
Do you have my email
So when
contact?
it comes in,
that sounds really good. Thanks for
septic.
sharing today.
Well, the problem was that they used his lot as their dumping ground. So had been dumped on his and buried. Now all that stuff was decaying and getting all into his septic system. They found 16 huge tree stumps on his lot.
Yeah, the builder.
That kind of stuff should never happen.
No, I agree. Well,
Okay, bye. Hey, Steve?
Yes.
I have a question for you. Thank you. Thank you, and I'll get you those,
Yeah, because I have a question.
Yes.
For myself, my own house, what's your best one?
For years ago, so
about my house.
yeah, well, like as an agent.
Definitely. I'll fix you up with,
If you could give me like 25.
How old
I
is
would
the
give it to the people who I think
I know
are
you do.
serious.
I know.
I don't want to,
Yeah.
no, I know, but people who I'm
You
hoping.
haven't done anything
Yeah.
with termites
I
or
love
about.
it. And if you went out of those,
Probably
you would just
the
keep letting
previous
me know,
owner
because I
did.
keep.
I haven't done one of those.
Here's the nice thing about the older
Great
ones.
idea.
When they were treated with a product that stays in the ground literally forever.
This will be
and
the
never gets washed
third
away.
one, but to be honest, I
Okay,
haven't.
so
Have I
you
got
may
the
very
live
well
one out?
have treatment.
No.
And that
It's
contact.
probably the people were in your pipeline.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Poured with concrete.
And I have a connection to it.
Yeah, it's probably treated right there.
Okay.
So it's probably
So
better
the problem
treated than
is,
some
do
of
you
the
want
newer
to,
ones.
because if you
Okay.
don't
But it's
have
not
it, you have to
that it's
spend
Going to be a
$1,000
preventative
for the booth.
all its life.
Right.
That's
It
a
is
lot.
something that, you know, you want to have a pest control
But
company come,
I know.
Yeah,
I used
for
to go
sure.
to,
you know,
I
give
used
you
to
a
go
price
to
on retreating it.
So I have
Older,
Oh, yeah.
So
lasted almost forever.
I
It's
That's why we got rid of them.
a way to market where it may not be so many agents.
You don't want things to last forever, nobody buys more.
Yeah, so that's the only thing.
That's a good way to build your database.
You think, I would think, I have a huge database and it has.
Cynthia, did I get your email?
But you never know.
Yes,
It just takes one good,
Oh,
one
yeah,
or two to
I see one.
get it rolling.
Only take one,
Good
right?
to see you. Good to see you. Pete.
This class is wonderful.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, they're really. All the guys are so good and everything. Thank you. Pete,
Yeah.
I have a question for you from an agent. What happens if you get out there and the pool gate is locked or whatnot, and then they have to get somebody to go
Or
back
like
out
the
there?
heater, the water heater is in the
Or whatever.
storage and it's locked.
Do they get charged to re-inspect?
Yeah. Got charged for a time.
To go out and count as a re-inspection then?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so-
You're welcome, sweetheart. Thank you.
With a pool,
Well, obviously, if she thinks she
you know, our call center, they're supposed to ask if the pool is open.
Right.
Is it, I don't mean just the gate open, is the pool in operation?
Right.
But a lot of times they're not.
They're not, yeah.
But nobody asks, is there a gate that's locked? Now, they do put information about, even in my pool inspection, they put information about how to get in the home. You know, CVS codes.
Right.
Is there a gate to the community?
Yeah.
But nobody seems to think about asking.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking,
about
like, for
that.
example, I had a situation where my client was buying a condo and I think it was like a water heater or something was in the storage room, which was locked. So, you know, the agent and the seller knew they were gonna come and have that inspection done, but when we get there, the key isn't there. I mean, I've communicated it, and so did the inspection company. So I wonder if something like that where the, you know, you're able to complete the majority of the report, it's just that one little piece. Is that an extra charge?
They would charge you for a return trip, not the whole inspection, but
If you get on it right away, like when he gets there, I mean, he's there for a period of time. So if
I know you mentioned one situation where the agent had came back right away.
Yeah.
If he's there, if it's a house, he's gonna be there at least 2 hours,
Right.
more than likely.
Yes,
So
if
if
it's
they
during
can
the
get
period
on
I'm
you,
there,
then somebody can
we
get on
can
over.
work that out.
Yeah, he could do
It's
that last.
probably
time.
one button that I just don't remember
So,
where it
yeah,
is.
that might work too, just to
Yeah.
kind of get on it right away.
But that's another reason to
Would
kind
you
of
let
know.
somebody know, Pete, right away, like, you know, why the door's locked up or the pool?
Oh yeah, I mean, as soon as I can't get
And
in,
you would
I'm making
schedule
phone
Well, it's
calls.
like as soon as you can't get in it, that's when.
Yeah.
And then you would let him know, and then she could start working on that situation.
Yeah, as soon as there's a problem
Get
with
somebody
access to
back out
anything
there,
like
yeah.
that, then I start making phone calls.
We'll all work like a team on that then. So,
Right.
Yeah.
You know, first thing I'm
Well,
usually going to do
typically
is
I go to all of mine.
That's
I don't
good.
think I have missed one.
That's really
good. You know, first thing I do is I'll call the call center.
Yeah.
And I'll get them on the phone
Yeah.
also to say,
Yeah.
see, you can contact us, the
Right.
problem I'm having. But then I start making calls on mine. If I've got
Yeah.
the listing agent's information, I start trying to make that call.
Right.
But a lot of times you don't get them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
They're on a boat to China or something.
You could let me know. even
Correct.
sometimes, If you
I can't tell you how many times I have tried to reach somebody, they're on a cruise.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's,
I can believe it.
yeah,
Okay.
Agents love a vacation.
Yeah.
Especially in the summertime.
And that flexibility, they can do that.
I gotta go pull my truck
That's
around and come
always
back to
fine.
that. Trish, should we meet our time? Better?
And you did fantastic, right on time, Pete.
Well, thank you so
Well,
much.
yeah,
It was a
hope to
really
work
great
with you.
class.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. And I'll be in on Tuesday, so if you're coming to the meeting or not,
Okay.
I'll see you. But I'll see you along the way because I'm always in and out. So, all right. Nice to meet you today.
And Pete.
And
Yep.
Pete, yeah.
Nice
Good
to
luck
meet you.
out there.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much.
You're
Look, I gotta
welcome.
work on getting a new jacket.
Oh, I see, yeah. Let me know if you need any help with that.
Would you like
That was
a
very
little
informational.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's our aim. Our to do is inform.
provide that?
Try to be helpful in any way we can for it. All deals are not perfect and never will be.
No, nor will the houses. Yeah, it's some pizza left if you'd like to grab. I know you did probably have lunch. Some soda.
And give me a little bite of this.
Do you want to take a piece on your trip? No, because if you're probably on a pretty good diet for not for your weight, but your diabetes. And stuff
Thanks for
like
mentioning that
I'm going
part.
to take a picture and send to your doctor of that what's going on right now.
I am not a good diabetic.
I can imagine. Oh, it's got to be hard. Hold on. I try to avoid sugar just as a precursor.
Yeah.
It runs in my family.
Okay, I'm gonna go see if I can pull around with this stuff.
All right, if I don't see you, I'll see you soon, and I won't quite see you till you go, you're going over.
See, I got one next week, that's with,
Yeah, it's
Al.
not with me. So I know you're going in September, so I'll see you. So I'm gonna start booking some more for you then. So,
Okay.
okay, have a good vacation if I don't see you.
Thank you. I'll be back in a minute for my
Okay,
watch.
bye Pete.
It's just one of these things, I haven't done it in a while. And I was gonna, I'll have to go, I'll go.
Everybody good in here?
Yes,
Oh,
we
look at
went really well, and a little extra left, so not
All
much,
right,
but
good.
we got tons of food for feed the troops, so
Cool.
so to speak. But yeah, thank you so much
Those
for
are
having
empty?
us in. Those are empty, so I was gonna try to
Actually, you can just set them.
put them right next to the trash or
Yeah,
something.
set 'em- or just the garbage can's almost completely empty out
Oh,
here.
that's
so.
good. Okay, I'll chuck them in there then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome, Felicia.
Can I turn this off?
Yes, he's done.
Well, I mean, what's the computer, this is a Surface Pro, Surface Pro? Again, it's something like, you remember the other day, I couldn't get my pen to work, by the time my son came home, I'd automatically